Ant's secret past. His wife betrayed him and he was frustrated in his career. Feng became a part-time masseur. When the first customer appeared, Feng's life became confusing. Chapter 1: The Part-Time Masseurs. The dimly lit room was filled with an ambiguous atmosphere. The woman lay on the luxurious bed, wearing only a thin nightgown. Her smooth, delicate back was exposed in front of Feng. "Start," the woman said. Feng stood at the edge of the bed, feeling nervous and embarrassed. He had no idea how to give a massage. He had been tricked into coming here by Ansu today. Ansu ran a chain of massage parlors in their neighborhood, and business was booming. Feng and Ansu were neighbors, and after getting to know each other, he would visit her place for tea and casual chats when he had free time. Recently, Feng had lost his job, but he didn't want his wife to find out. So, he kept his usual routine of leaving early and coming back late, while spending his days at Ansu's massage parlor, scrolling through TikTok, reading novels, or occasionally submitting job applications to kill time. One day, Ansu received a home massage request from a regular customer, but due to a lack of staff, she asked Feng to fill in. The customer was an old client, and the location was in their neighborhood. Feng had no idea how to do this. Ansu reassured him, saying it was simple and that he could pick it up in half an hour if he followed her instructions. At first, Feng wanted to refuse, but considering he had been using her air conditioning and occasionally getting free meals, he agreed. Moreover, he had heard that the customer was a beautiful woman. Being a man, his curiosity and desire began to show. He immediately agreed to give it a try. After half an hour of training with Ansu, Feng thought he was ready. It seemed so simple to get started with the massage. Ansu had a big house and a luxury car. Maybe this job was easier and more lucrative than he thought. He remembered Ansu had mentioned that she used to work in insurance before switching to the massage industry. This made Feng think, why not start his own massage business? Of course, he knew he needed to understand the industry better first. He had worked hard to earn his money. As he was about to leave, Ansu handed him a box filled with various bottles and jars. The woman in front of him was very beautiful, with a great figure. This stirred something inside Feng. "Shall we begin?" the woman said again. "Okay." Feng replied quickly. However, his eyes kept drifting over her back. The massage techniques he had just learned seemed to have slipped his mind entirely. He gathered his courage and gently placed his hands on her back, trying to recall some of the techniques. But the softness of her skin made him lose focus. "Ouch, be gentler, you're hurting me," the woman said softly. Feng quickly apologized, realizing he had been too rough. The woman said, "You're new, right? But your hands are strong." Unlike the others, their techniques were fine, but something was always missing. Feng responded, "Yes, I've only been working at Ansu's shop for a few days. My skills aren't perfect yet. Please bear with me." "No worries, just keep going," the woman encouraged. With her reassurance, Feng felt relieved, and the techniques Ansu had taught him began to flow more smoothly. Soon, he heard the woman's gentle breathing, and she had fallen asleep. After the massage, Feng began packing up his things. The woman turned over to face him. It was only then that Feng got a good look at her face. When he had first arrived, it was the housekeeper who had opened the door. The woman had an incredibly beautiful face, her skin pale like snow. Her lips were painted a bright red, and the corners of her mouth lifted in a playful, seductive smile. Feng couldn't help but stare at her for a moment longer. The woman seemed to notice and smiled faintly. "Am I pretty?" she asked. Feng froze. How awkward. As an adult, he didn't know how to respond. Just then, the door suddenly crashed open. A middle-aged man stormed in, looking furious. He saw the woman sitting on the bed and a young, handsome man standing beside it. Behind him, the housekeeper entered, looking anxious and trying to persuade him to calm down. The woman calmly said, "Leave us." The housekeeper hesitated but obeyed, gently closing the door behind her. The woman sat up straight on the bed, her hair slightly messy, her nightgown open at the collar, exposing her fair skin and delicate collarbones. The man's gaze fell on her, full of anger and resentment. "So you're sneaking around with a little boy behind my back," he snarled, his voice low and cold. He glared at Feng with malice. The woman laughed coldly, "So what if I am? What does it have to do with you?" Yifeng was taken aback. This was an unfair accusation. Brother, don't misunderstand. I'm just here to. Before he could finish, the man rushed at him and threw a punch. Yifeng couldn't dodge in time and immediately felt stars in his vision, clutching his painful face. Stop, the woman yelled sharply. The man hesitated, stopping in his tracks. Explain who this man is, the woman demanded. She laughed again. What relationship do I have with you? The man, red-faced, stammered, I'm pursuing you. Did I agree to that? The woman retorted. The man looked wronged, no. Then there you have it. I'm not your girlfriend, and we have no relationship. You've been bothering me every day. I agreed to be friends with you as a favor. I'm very disappointed in you. You, how can you do this to me? You're playing me. If I were playing you, I'd have taken half of the money in your pocket by now, the woman replied sarcastically. The man was speechless for a moment, then turned his anger toward Yifeng. It's definitely this guy. He's the one who's making you lose interest in me. With that, the man turned and swung a punch at Yifeng. But this time, Yifeng wasn't afraid. He swiftly dodged the punch, then executed a quick grapple, bringing the man down to the ground. I'm just a masseur. Don't slander me. Yifeng shouted. Hearing this, the man's anger only intensified. He assumed Yifeng was just a male escort, and the woman would rather be with someone like him than with him. His rage boiled over as he struggled to break free, launching another attack on Yifeng. However, Yifeng had trained in Sonder Chinese kickboxing for years and had been a top athlete in school. He easily subdued the man once more. But the man continued to insult Yifeng, calling him a gigolo, a prostitute, someone who lived off his looks. Yifeng was furious. Fuck. What the hell do you think I am? He snapped, his temper flaring. Chapter 2, Suspicion of Infidelity. Yifeng immediately clamped his hand over the man's mouth. I have nothing to do with this woman. You're spouting nonsense. If you keep this up, I'll break your mouth today. The man was intimidated by Yifeng's stern words. Though still full of resistance, his attitude visibly softened. The woman observed everything, a faint smile playing on her lips. All right, young man, you can let go now. Yifeng released his grip and warned the man once again, keep your mouth clean. The man, seething with anger but realizing he would only be the one to lose in this situation, quickly found an excuse and fled. Afterward, the woman addressed Yifeng. Sorry about what happened today, she said, pulling out a stack of cash from her wallet and handing it to him. Yifeng hurriedly waved his hand, signaling that he didn't need any payment. However, the woman insisted, it's for your service. A tip is the least I can give you. She pressed the money into his hand, and Yifeng reluctantly accepted it, realizing he couldn't refuse. He thought to himself that this woman was a regular customer of Ansu, and if she complained, Ansu would likely blame him. Thank you, Yifeng said, still a bit reluctant. Before Yifeng left, the woman asked, what's your name? Yifeng, he replied. She smiled slightly, showing 2 dimples, and playfully winked at him. My name is Ni Xiaoqian. You can call me Xiaoqian. Yifeng nodded. By the way, if that man causes you any more trouble, just let me know, she said, reaching for her phone to add Yifeng on WeChat. Yifeng didn't refuse. After all, who would turn down a beautiful woman? After leaving the room, Yifeng sighed with relief and counted the money in his hand. Wow. 2,000 yuan. She's a rich woman. Today's definitely a good day. The woman leaned casually against the window, holding a cigarette, silently watching Yifeng downstairs. She took a drag and smiled faintly. Yifeng had just returned to Ansu's store when Ansu came up to him, beaming with joy. Yifeng, you're really my lucky star. Miss Ni just called and said she wants to recharge a 100,000 yuan membership card and specifically requested you for service in the future. Yifeng was taken aback. That's a huge amount. No wonder she paid 2,000 yuan today. Yifeng declined, saying he was just helping out today. Ansu, however, insisted. I'm not forcing you, but until you find a new job, you'll handle Miss Ni's orders. I'll give you a 300 yuan commission per order, and a monthly salary of 8,000 yuan. How does that sound? Yifeng had been unemployed for a month now. He still had to pay the mortgage and give money to his wife. This month, he had to dip into his private savings. Ansu's offer was actually quite close to what Yifeng had been earning. Normally, with hard work, he only earned 7 or 8,000, with occasional unpaid overtime. The past month of unemployment had been frustrating, especially dealing with his old boss who kept making false promises. Yifeng had been promised a raise of 3,000 yuan per month when he took over for a departing employee, but after 2 months, the boss kept making excuses. When Yifeng brought it up again last month, the boss had acted clueless and even arrogantly told him to quit if he wasn't happy. In a fit of anger, Yifeng had a huge argument with his boss, even deleting all work-related files. 3 days later, his boss sent a former colleague to ask Yifeng to hand over the files for 3,000 yuan. Yifeng had found it ridiculous and flatly refused. The boss had even threatened to ruin his reputation in the industry. But, thinking under the eaves, one must bow their head, Yifeng reluctantly agreed. Ansu was overjoyed. Yifeng, work hard. By the end of the year, you'll be the top employee and I'll reward you with a car. Yifeng was taken aback. Everything seemed to be going so well. At 7 p.m., Yifeng arrived home on time. His wife, Wang Chufen, was still not back. Yifeng called her, and she told him she was out for a company dinner and that he should take care of himself. Yifeng quickly made a simple meal for himself. At 11 p.m., Wang Chufen returned, clearly drunk. Yifeng was surprised by how much she had drunk, so he asked, "Why did you drink so much today?" Wang Chufen tossed her bag at him. "How can you ask that? You're a grown man and still have nothing to show for yourself. My colleague's husband treated us to dinner today at Huiyang. Huiyang is one of the city's best private restaurants. The average cost per person is 1,000 yuan. Yifeng realized that Wang Chufen had probably been upset during the dinner. In the past, she would mention her colleagues' husbands getting promoted or making money, but it was always just casual talk. Today, however, she seemed to be really angry with him. After speaking, Wang Chufen stumbled off toward the bathroom. Yifeng tried to help her, but she pushed him away. Yifeng felt guilty, realizing he hadn't been able to give her a better life, and that she had suffered a lot because of him over the years. He sighed deeply and bent down to pick up the bag she had thrown. As he opened it, he found several unopened, high-quality condoms inside. Yifeng was taken aback. He normally used cheaper brands. Why would there be condoms in her bag at this hour, and why were they high-end brands? Yifeng's mind raced, and his heart pounded. Could it be that Wang Chufen is cheating? With a sense of dread, he realized that something felt very wrong. But they had been so close for years. They were planning to have a baby later this year, and Wang Chufen had never shown any signs of discontent. Yifeng took a deep drag of his cigarette and tried to calm himself down. Once she finished showering, he was determined to ask her about the condoms. What was going on? Chapter 3, let's do this. Honey, can you blow dry my hair? Wang Chufen's voice came through. The issue with the condoms was still bothering Yifeng, and he responded irritably, "Can't you blow dry it yourself?" I can't reach the back," Wang Chufen teased, her voice sweet. Yifeng chuckled. After taking one last drag of his cigarette, he tossed it away. "All right, I'm coming," he called out as he headed to the bathroom. Wang Chufen, wearing a bathrobe that exposed her shoulders, had a flushed face, and her damp hair fell over her shoulders. "Already done with your shower?" Yifeng asked. "What do you mean? It's been 20 minutes already." Yifeng was slightly dazed, realizing time had passed so quickly. Earlier, he had been imagining all sorts of things. In his mind, if Wang Chufen didn't provide a satisfactory answer now, he would be convinced she had cheated. Yifeng took the blow dryer from her and began drying her hair. "Honey, you should take a shower too," she said. "Why?" he asked. "There's a discount at the convenience store today. I bought it while I was out." "What do you think I bought it for?" She turned and smiled sweetly. The condoms were from a convenience store sale. Could it be that he had misunderstood her? In that case, everything he had imagined earlier was probably not true. Yifeng sighed in relief, his mood lifting immediately. He realized he had wrongly suspected Wang Chufen, and he felt guilty. Luckily, he had kept his cool. If he had voiced these thoughts aloud, it would have definitely strained their relationship. He gave a chuckle and reached out his hand again. "Stop it, hurry up and dry my hair." Wang Chufen swatted his hand away. Yifeng finished drying her hair and then happily went to take his own shower. Wang Chufeng let out a sigh of relief. Just as she was showering earlier, she suddenly remembered the condoms in her bag. It had scared her to the point of shivering, and she had almost rushed out to grab them. However, she quickly realized that wasn't a smart move. After calming down, she thought of a plan. If Feng hadn't noticed, she would just pretend nothing had happened. But if he had noticed, she could explain it away by saying they were on sale. When she called Feng to blow dry her hair, she noticed his behavior was a bit off. He probably had figured out what was in her bag. Fortunately, the excuse about the sale worked, and Feng didn't suspect anything. Lying in bed, Wang Chufeng texted Shudawei, "You're a disaster today. You put the condoms in my bag, and I almost got caught by my husband." Shudawei replied, "So what if he found them? Does he dare do anything to you? I'll take care of him later." Wang Chufeng smiled to herself. When a man is willing to stand up for you, it means he cares about you. That night, Feng felt different. The experience with Wang Chufeng was just better. High-end products really did make a difference. Her seductive manner was even wilder than usual. Feng couldn't help but think, if you have to save money on things like this, that's really tough. Afterwards, he told Wang Chufeng, "Next time, let's stock up on some more when there's a sale. They don't expire quickly." Wang Chufeng smiled, "Sorry about what I said earlier, I didn't mean to hurt you." She kissed him on the cheek with a touch of apology, then snuggled into his arms like a little cat, looking for comfort. Feng didn't say anything. He just held her tightly in his arms. He understood that empty words were useless. Talking about dreams was pointless without money. Even if Wang Chufeng realized she was wrong, it might happen again next time. The key was to find a way to make money. Feng and Wang Chufeng had been university classmates and had stayed in the city after graduation. This year marked their 5th year together. Feng worked as a designer at an advertising company, earning a little over 7,000 a month, with an additional year-end bonus if he performed well. Wang Chufeng worked as an accountant at a tech company, earning 6,000 a month. Without their parents' support, Feng's salary wouldn't be enough to survive in this city. They had bought a house, but with the mortgage payments and the money Feng had to give to Wang Chufeng every month, he barely had any pocket money left. Though Feng had managed to save up a little private stash over the years, with his current unemployment, it wouldn't last more than 3 to 5 months. What would happen after that if he didn't find a suitable job? The next morning, Feng woke up and made breakfast as usual. Wang Chufeng liked to sleep in, so Feng usually made breakfast. Her office was just 5 minutes away by electric bike, so she would often still be sleeping when Feng left for work. Wang Chufeng got off work early, so she took care of dinner. Of course, Feng did all the housework, including washing dishes and doing the laundry. This morning, after breakfast, Feng went to report to Ansu. Ansu greeted him with a bright smile. "Feng, you're really my good luck. Miss Ni just called and said she wants to buy a 100,000 yuan membership card and wants you to serve her from now on." Feng was surprised. A big spender. No wonder she spent 2,000 yuan so easily today. He smiled and said, "It's nothing, just helping out." Ansu laughed. "I'm not forcing you, but until you find a new job, you're in charge of Miss Ni's orders. I'll give you a 300 yuan commission for each order, and a salary of 8,000 yuan per month. How about it?" Feng had been unemployed for a month now. His mortgage needed to be paid, and he had to hand over money to Wang Chufeng each month. He had been using his savings to get by this month. The salary Ansu offered was about the same as Feng's usual income. Even when he worked himself to the bone at his old job, he only earned 8,000 yuan a month, and that was with occasional unpaid overtime. During his unemployment, Feng couldn't stand the boss's bullying anymore. At his last job, the boss had promised to raise his salary by 3,000 yuan per month after he took over for a departing employee, but after 2 months, the boss had made excuses and refused. When Feng had brought it up again last month, the boss acted like he didn't know anything and rudely told Feng to quit if he didn't like it. Feng, in anger, had argued with the boss and deleted all the materials related to his responsibilities. On the 3rd day after he quit, the boss sent a colleague to ask him for the materials, offering 3,000 yuan to retrieve them. Feng found it utterly ridiculous and refused. The boss even threatened to ruin his reputation in the industry. Feng had been furious at the time, but now, he just had to swallow his pride. So he agreed to the deal. Ansu was overjoyed. Good, work hard, and by the end of the year, you'll be the best employee. I'll reward you with a car. Yifeng listened, feeling like it was too good to be true. That evening, Yifeng arrived home on time at 7 p.m. Wang Qiufeng was still not home. Yifeng called her, and she told him that the company had a dinner gathering, and she had eaten out. You can figure something out for dinner. Yifeng made something simple for himself. At 11 p.m., Wang Qiufeng stumbled back home drunk. Seeing her drunk, Yifeng was a little confused. He asked, "Why did you drink so much today?" Wang Qiufeng threw her handbag at him. You still have the nerve to ask. You're a grown man, and you still don't have anything going for you. My colleague's husband treated everyone to a meal at Huayang. Huayang was one of the best restaurants in the city, with a meal costing at least 1,000 yuan per person. Yifeng knew that Wang Qiufeng must have been upset by something at the dinner. In the past, Wang Qiufeng had mentioned how one of her colleagues' husbands had gotten promoted or made a fortune in business. But today, she was taking it out on Yifeng. She stormed into the bathroom, and when Yifeng tried to help her, she pushed him away. Yifeng felt guilty. He knew he had no achievements to his name and that he had made Wang Qiufeng endure a lot over the years. Before he could think any more, he noticed something strange. Wang Qiufeng's purse contained several unopened high-end condoms. Yifeng froze. What was going on? Later that night, he couldn't shake the feeling of unease. Did Wang Qiufeng cheat on him? Why else would there be condoms in her purse? And her strange behavior today made him suspicious. But they had been deeply in love all these years. Could it be true? Yifeng struggled to keep calm, but the mystery gnawed at him. Chapter 4, Cheating. In the morning, the store is basically empty. Yifeng was lying on the sofa watching Douyin, and then he was bragging to a few waitresses in the store. They are all young and have only been working in this field for 1 or 2 years. Everyone says this business makes money. They joked with Yifeng that men have advantages in this line of work. At first, Yifeng didn't understand what it meant. Until a girl said, "Our customers are all women." Yifeng understood. They are implying that they have innate conditions. Yifeng smiled and was too lazy to argue with those little girls. She offered to treat them to milk tea, and immediately became ambiguous towards Yifeng. At 1 o'clock in the afternoon, Yifeng received a message from Ni Xiaoqian, asking him to come over at 3 o'clock. Yifeng replied that there was no problem. Seeing that it was still early, Yifeng prepared to take a nap and recuperate. With the addition of new measures last night, Yifeng worked much harder. When I woke up in the morning, my legs felt sore. Yifeng had just fallen asleep when he was awakened by the violent storm outside. He remembered that the clothes he washed in the morning were still hanging outside the balcony. After saying hello to Ansu, he opened an umbrella and rushed home. On the way, the wind was strong and the rain was heavy, and Yifeng's umbrella was almost blown away. After finally reaching the elevator, Yifeng found that he was soaked all over. In this weather, he was worried about how Wang Qiufeng would ride her bike back. So Wang Qiufeng sent a message, saying that he could leave work early today and pick her up himself. Yifeng lives on the 33rd floor. He bought this floor because the unit price was cheap. When I go to and from get off work, it takes a lot of time to take the elevator. It's okay on normal days. The rooftop is a good place to smoke and dry clothes. When he arrived at the 33rd floor, Yifeng saw Chen Qiufeng's leather shoes at the door. Is she at home? Are you back to collect the clothes? After opening the door and going to the balcony, Yifeng found that the clothes were not hung outside. He breathed a sigh of relief and prepared to go out. Suddenly, Wang Qiufeng's moaning sound was heard. The sound is very loud. It's so cool. Yifeng was stunned. Then he rushed into the room. Yifeng was stunned by that scene. Wang Qiufeng lay naked on the man's thighs. The styles and postures are extremely contrasting. The man saw Yifeng first. He was so scared that he quickly pushed Wang Qiufeng away. Wang Qiufeng licked her face and asked if this posture was uncomfortable. But she also noticed something strange on the man's face. She turned her head and saw Yifeng standing at the door. Wang Qiufeng was stunned, but remained extremely calm. She said to the man, "You go away, leave things here to me." After that, Wang Qiufeng began to put on her clothes. The man quickly put on his clothes and was about to slip away. Yifeng stopped him, then punched him angrily. The man was too frightened to resist. Yifeng, you are crazy. If you hurt him, you will be finished. Wang Qiufeng's voice came, and she quickly stepped forward to stop Yifeng. Yifeng's mind was blank and he didn't hear what Wang Qiufeng said at all. Push Wang Qiufeng away with force. At this point, he was so angry that he wanted to kill the man. He picked up a stool in the room and threw it at him. Wang Qiufeng took a quick step forward and stood in front. The chair fell on Wang Qiufeng. Wang Qiufeng grimaced in pain. At this moment, Yifeng seemed to understand everything. He said nothing, lit a cigarette and lay down on the sofa. At this moment, Wang Qiufeng asked the man to leave quickly. The man ran away. When Yifeng saw their appearance, he felt as if he was an outsider. Hearing the sound of the door closing, Yifeng smiled bitterly. He knew it was time to make a decision. He opened the safe, took out all the valuables in the house and put them into a bag. This scene was seen by Wang Qiufeng, who had just returned. Yifeng, what are you going to do? He said and went to grab it. Yifeng pushed her away, but she still stepped forward to grab the things in Yifeng's hand. Yifeng gave him a loud slap. Wang Qiufeng was beaten so badly that she stood there motionless. Then she burst into tears out of grievance. Yifeng, you want to hit me, right? As he said that, he walked forward and pulled Yifeng, scratching Yifeng's face with his sharp hands, leaving several marks. Yifeng pushed her away forcefully. Wang Qiufeng, you disappoint me so much. Yifeng said and strode out. Ever since Yifeng started dating Wang Qiufeng, he has never called her by her full name again. Today is the first time. It is enough to show Yifeng's disappointment with Wang Qiufeng. Wang Qiufeng didn't chase her, so she went crazy and smashed things at home. When Yifeng heard this scene, tears flowed down his face involuntarily. This home was built bit by Yifeng over the years. Now that Wang Qiufeng was working so hard to destroy it, she had destroyed all their hopes. Yifeng sneered. Everything that just happened seemed like an illusion. Bringing a man home to have an affair. Wang Qiufeng was not at all panicked. Such calmness made Yifeng realize completely that Wang Qiufeng was a two-faced person. Today is definitely not the first time. If Yifeng hadn't discovered it, maybe he would have kept wearing the hat. Yifeng walked alone in the storm without an umbrella. No matter how fierce the storm is, it cannot eliminate the pain in Yifeng's heart. At this time, Yifeng's phone rang. Yifeng picked up the phone and it was Ansu. My dear, there is more to this chapter. Please click on the next page to continue reading. It's even more exciting later. Yifeng, where are you? How long have you been collecting clothes? I called you so many times but you didn't answer. Hurry up, Miss Ni is already urging you. Yifeng said he understood and would be there right away. After hanging up the phone, Yifeng saw that Ansu had made several calls, but he didn't hear them in the heavy rain just now. Ni Xiaoqian also sent a message to Yifeng. Yifeng came into Ansu's shop like a drowned rat. Ansu asked Yifeng in surprise how he became like this. Yifeng said, please get me some clothes quickly, it will be too late to change when I go back. Ansu's place has mostly waitresses' clothes. After searching for a long time, I finally found a promotional t-shirt with the logo of a certain liquor printed on it. Yifeng thought it would be better not to wear it, so he asked Ansu to bring a large towel. After wiping it, it was fine. Seeing that it was getting late, Ansu drove Yifeng to Ni Xiaoqian's home. When I arrived at Ni Xiaoqian's house, Ni Xiaoqian was already lying on the bed, ready. Yifeng was just about to take action. Ni Xiaoqian turned around and said, what do you smell like? When Ni Xiaoqian saw that Yifeng was wet, she asked, are you wet? Yifeng nodded. Go take a shower, I'm a germaphobe. Yifeng was a little embarrassed. As soon as she finished speaking, the woman called for the nanny. Ask the nanny to take Yifeng to the bathroom upstairs and get a new set of clothes. Now that you are here, make the most of it. Although Yifeng was a little reluctant in his heart, he knew very well that he could not easily offend this big customer in front of him. After taking a shower, Yifeng felt refreshed and his mental state improved significantly. He walked out of the bathroom and put on the disposable pajamas that the nanny had prepared. He found that this set of pajamas fit him perfectly, as if it was tailor-made for him. Chapter 5, Poisonous Woman. Yifeng came to Ni Xiaoqian's room again. Under the dim light, Ni Xiaoqian lay on the soft bed like a mermaid. The The fair and smooth skin is enough to arouse anyone's fantasy. But today Yifeng had no such thoughts at all. Wang Qiufeng's cheating was like a blow to his head. He could never have imagined that the gentle, lovely, self-centered Wang Qiufeng would actually cheat on him. Yifeng couldn't accept the obscene posture and words. I always feel like this is a dream. During the massage, Yifeng had something on his mind. Either the force is too small or too large. Even after Ni Xiaoqian's reminder, Yifeng still did so. Yifeng felt that he could not complete this task today. So he said apologetically, Miss Ni, I'm sorry for today. I'll ask Ansu to arrange another masseurs to serve you. Ni Xiaoqian turned around and sat up. The loose pajamas can't hide the proud display. What's wrong? Ni Xiaoqian asked. Nothing, maybe I caught a cold after being caught in the rain. Ni Xiaoqian said oh. I picked up my cell phone and called the nanny, asking her to make a bowl of ginger tea. No need, Miss Ni. Yifeng said. You sit there and rest for a while. I was inconsiderate today and asked you to come here in such heavy rain. As she said that, Ni Xiaoqian got up from the bed and turned on the light. She immediately saw the scratches on Yifeng's face. What happened to your face? Yifeng was a little embarrassed. Nothing, I just caught it by accident. Ni Xiaoqian laughed. He seemed to understand why Yifeng was not in good shape today. You caught it yourself? I don't think so. I think it was a woman who caught it. What happened? Did you have a fight with your girlfriend? Yifeng felt embarrassed. How could I scratch my face like that? Yifeng also laughed helplessly. Ni Xiaoqian walked to the cabinet, took out an ointment and handed it to Yifeng. This is brand new. Apply this and it will heal faster. A man's face is the most valuable thing. A man's face must not be disfigured at any time. Yifeng took the ointment and said, thank you. This woman needs to be coaxed. She has a sharp tongue but a soft heart. Go home and buy her a bouquet of flowers in the evening, and all the problems will be solved. Ni Xiaoqian said with a smile. Yifeng didn't say anything, but squeezed out the ointment and applied it. The cooling feeling spreads all over the face, very comfortable. At this time, the nanny knocked on the door and came in with a bowl of ginger soup in her hand. Put it here. Ni Xiaoqian said. The nanny placed the ginger tea on the coffee table in front of Yifeng. Auntie, is Mr. Yi's clothes ready? Miss Ni, it has been washed and is being blow-dried. It will be ready soon. Okay, send it in. The nanny nodded and walked out. Come, drink this bowl of ginger tea. Ni Xiaoqian's voice was gentle and kind. As she finished speaking, she picked up the ginger tea and handed it to Yifeng. Yifeng looked at the ginger tea in front of him and couldn't help feeling touched. Thanks. When Yifeng took it, he suddenly felt a strange touch. He raised his head and his eyes met Ni Xiaoqian's. At that moment, Yifeng noticed that Ni Xiaoqian's eyes were unusually clear. There was not a single impurity in those eyes, only concern and kindness for others. Yifeng remembered that Wang Qiufeng's eyes used to be like this. Unknown. For a moment, Yifeng felt a little embarrassed. Then he picked up the ginger tea and drank it in one gulp. Do you feel better now? Ni Xiaoqian said. Yes, thank you. No need. I should have thanked you yesterday for helping me solve a problem. Otherwise, I don't know what to do. Yifeng smiled, it's just a small matter. You seem to be quite skilled. Have you ever learned it? I learned a little bit in college. No wonder. After saying this, if I had a boyfriend like you, which man would dare to bully me? As she said this, Ni Xiaoqian laughed. Yifeng wondered, what is going on? Are you hinting at me? Although Ni Xiaoqian is very beautiful, Yifeng thinks that she is just a woman who hangs out with men. To put it bluntly, it's peripheral. It's so easy for someone as beautiful as you to find a boyfriend like this. It's not as simple as you say. If it were simple, that person wouldn't have dared to bully me yesterday. He just saw that I was from another place and had no one to protect me. Yifeng smiled and felt that he was getting further and further away from her. So I suggested asking Ansu to find another masseur for you. Ni Xiaoqian said let it go today. Next time. But I can't let you make a wasted trip. As she spoke, she walked to the cabinet, opened it, and took out a stack of banknotes. Here, this is a tip for you. Yifeng refused, but Ni Xiaoqian insisted on giving it to him. She said she would tip whoever served her. Yifeng thought, if that's the case then just accept it. It would seem fake to insist on refusing. After a while, the nanny brought the washed clothes. Ni Xiaoqian also said that she was a little tired today, so let's stop here. I'll find you next time. Yifeng said hello and left. When they returned to Ansu's place, she discovered that there were several scratches on Yifeng's face. I hurriedly asked what was going on. Yifeng said that he had a quarrel with his wife and was caught by her. Ansu asked Yifeng, did you discover something? Yifeng is confused. Ansu stopped pretending. She said she often saw your wife riding in an elevator with a man. Judging from their appearance, they have a special relationship. After saying that, Ansu explained that she did not mean to sow discord between you and your spouse. I just think you are a good person and get off work hard every day. I didn't tell you before because I didn't want to make you sad. Judging from your expression today, I guess you may already know something, so you said it out. Yifeng smiled helplessly. He said that the reason he was late today was that when he got home to collect clothes, he saw his wife doing that thing with a man in bed. Then the face was scratched like this. When Ansu heard this, she immediately became angry. How can this be justified in the world? Having an affair and beating her husband. This kind of woman is simply a vicious woman. After she finished speaking, Ansu felt that the vicious woman's words were a bit harsh. So she quickly explained, maybe there is any misunderstanding between you. Yifeng lit a cigarette and took a deep puff. Ansu, you are absolutely right. She is a vicious woman. Ansu was stunned for a moment, then understood instantly. She went forward to comfort Yifeng. Yifeng, don't think too much. What you need to do now is to preserve the evidence and make this woman leave the house with nothing. If you need a lawyer, I have several clients who are lawyers and I can help you. After Ansu said this, Yifeng suddenly remembered that he had wanted to install a camera in the living room. Wang Qiufeng gave many reasons why she disagreed with the installation. What you say is there is no privacy. There are also concerns about hacker intrusion. Now think about it, these are secondary. The most important thing is that it makes it convenient for her to fool around with other men at home. Chapter 6 Moving Out. Yifeng still knows a little bit about the law. There is no substantial evidence to prove that Wang Qiufeng cheated. She can't leave the house empty-handed. The common property of two people should be divided equally. Now the down payment for the house is paid by Yifeng's family, as is the decoration. Yifeng repaid the loan. At the beginning, Yifeng wanted to give Wang Qiufeng a guarantee, or maybe since they were all family, it was normal for him to add a name. But now the good intentions have turned into a trap. Ansu seemed to see something strange. Yifeng, your wife is cheating on you. Do you have any evidence? Yifeng shook his head. Ansu sighed. I feel a bit angry and disappointed with someone. You too, why didn't you take pictures of their ugly behavior? If you had, they wouldn't be able to explain themselves even if they had 10,000 mouths. Yifeng smiled bitterly. But it's okay. It's a fact that your wife cheated on you. If she doesn't leave the house, you can make a fuss. Let everyone in their unit know about it and see if she still has the face to do it. Ansu said angrily. Yifeng took a puff of cigarette and suddenly remembered that there was a certain audio equipment in the room. There is a care assistant up there. If there is someone moving or sound within the camera range, it will automatically keep on moving. Yifeng quickly opened a certain audio software on his mobile phone. Sure enough, at 1 o'clock, the device showed that someone was moving. Yifeng placed this audio device directly against the wall, mainly because he was worried about hackers. After all, there are too many videos on the internet. Although their affectionate appearance was not captured, the system retained a lot of their sounds. Yifeng was also thankful that the VIP membership of this device was activated at the beginning, and the system maintenance function was 1 minute each time. So starting at 1 p.m., there were dozens of their videos. Ansu asked Yifeng if he had discovered anything. Yifeng said, there is some evidence and I need to sort it out. Okay, Yifeng, you pack it up. If you need me to intervene, just tell me. Our woman must leave the house with nothing. After she finished speaking, Ansu continued, Yifeng, you should stay at home and take care of your affairs for the next 2 days, and you don't need to come here. If Miss Ni asks, I will tell you that something is wrong. Yifeng said, Ansu, it's okay, just do what you need to do, don't worry about me. Are you really alright? It's okay. Only by keeping myself busy can I forget everything. Ansu nodded. At this time, several gorgeously dressed ladies came into the store. One of them, wearing a purple dress, glanced at Yifeng. Ansu hurried forward to greet them. Yifeng walked outside the store and the sky was dark. It was still stormy outside. It's like the end of the world. Yifeng lit a cigarette and took a deep breath. After seeing the scene today, Yifeng felt like killing someone. But at least I calmed down. Killing them would be too easy for them. He had no intention of dying together with his enemies. They will definitely pay the price for what they have done. Yifeng took a puff of cigarette and exhaled slowly. He didn't want to set foot in that house again. It was really disgusting to think about it now. Wang Chufeng and that man had made love on that bed every day so many times. Ansu was here just now, so Yifeng was embarrassed to let out those sounds. He still has to save some face. When Yifeng listened to those recordings one by one, he was almost furious. Wang Chufeng, Wang Chufeng. All these years, I always thought she was a gentle and virtuous woman. But now, she is like a bitch in heat. Full of nonsense. It's really impossible to listen to it. Cow. Yifeng cursed. All the kindness I showed her over the years has gone to waste. Yifeng took a deep breath, took the last puff of his cigarette, threw away the cigarette butt, and dived into the heavy rain. He wanted to go back and pack his things. He didn't want to set foot in that house again. On the second floor of Ansu's massage room, the middle-aged woman in the purple dress was standing in front of the window, staring at Yifeng. He felt that the man in front of him was like his first love in college. Xieya, what are you looking at? It's your turn, said another middle-aged woman. Lin Xieya smiled and said nothing. Then he walked to a private room. The moment Yifeng returned home and opened the door, the scene before him made him even more stunned. The originally tidy and warm home has now become a mess. In the living room, the TV screen was cracked and broken glass was all over the floor. The things on the coffee table were scattered all over the floor in a mess. The dishes in the kitchen were also scattered all over the floor. When Yifeng walked into the room, he found that Wang Chufeng had not a single piece of clothing left. It was obvious that she had left the house. When I looked at my clothes again, they were all thrown on the ground, in a mess. What is even more shocking is that their wedding photo had several deep scratches on it caused by a sharp object. Finally, Yifeng noticed the safe next to him. It has been destroyed beyond recognition. Yifeng secretly thanked himself for having taken out all the important items from the safe in advance. Faced with such a scene, Yifeng knew in his heart that all this was probably done by Wang Chufeng to vent her dissatisfaction. Yifeng looked at this once warm little home and felt that there was no point in keeping it in his memory. This chapter is not finished yet, please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. He called a second-hand housing agent and told him he wanted to sell his house, so he asked him to come over and take a look. While waiting, Yifeng made several backup copies of the evidence in his hands. Who can guarantee what Wang Chufeng will do? Soon, the agent arrived. He was also surprised to see the mess in the room. Yifeng went straight to the point and asked when a house could be sold. The agent said that if it's fast, it can be processed in a week, and if it's slow, it will not exceed 20 days. However, since you are in such a hurry to deal with it, there may be some changes in the price. Yifeng said it would be fine if it was cheaper, as long as the house could be sold as soon as possible. The agent agreed. The agent also gave a friendly reminder that the place should be cleaned, especially the wedding photos on the wall should be taken down. Yifeng understood what it meant. If some bad things happen to some properties, it will be difficult to sell them if the buyers know about it. Or just bargain. Yifeng said there was no problem. Some agreements were then concluded with the intermediaries. After everything was done, Yifeng packed up his personal belongings, and when the rain stopped, he transported the things to Ansu's place. 3 large boxes. Yifeng told Ansu that he had moved out of that house and had put the house on the market. He would be living in the store for the time being and would move out once he found a place to stay. Ansu said there was no problem. There is an empty massage room upstairs, which is fully equipped with water and electricity. He also told Yifeng to stay here and feel at ease, and treat this place as his home. Ansu said, "Can I make a small suggestion? Can you help me make dinner?" Chapter 7, If we are not from the same family, we will not enter the same door. Yifeng was a little confused. Ansu told Yifeng not to be nervous. First of all, I haven't tasted your cooking for a long time. Secondly, the girls in the store are tired of eating takeout. Ansu said that if you agree, you will be paid. Before, Yifeng showed off his cooking skills to Ansu. Ansu was full of praise. Yifeng thought that Ansu had helped him a lot. And let myself live here. There's nothing wrong with cooking. Anyway, Yifeng is still very confident in his cooking skills. Yifeng agreed, but refused the wages. Ansu was very happy, but she still had to pay. Yifeng didn't say anything. Ansu was a very polite person. If you insist on not wanting it, she will give it to you. Then, Ansu called a few girls and took Yifeng's things to the second floor together. After thanking him, Yifeng carried his things upstairs. Just at this moment, Lin Xieyar just walked out of the box. She met Yifeng at the stairs. A close encounter. Lin Xieyar couldn't help but sigh inwardly, this man looks so much like him. Both their appearance and temperament are strikingly similar. This sudden discovery left Lin Xieyar at a loss for a moment. At the same time, Yifeng also noticed the gaze from the side. He followed the line of sight and his eyes happened to meet Lin Xieyar's. Although it was only a brief moment, their eyes met unexpectedly. Lin Xieyar suddenly felt flustered and quickly lowered her head, trying to hide her gaffe. Then he turned around quickly and hurried downstairs. Yifeng looked at the woman's back, feeling somewhat confused. Although the massage room is not big, it is fully equipped and has a window. Good. After Yifeng tied it up, he looked at everything in front of him. He could not believe that his life had changed so drastically in just a few days. He walked to the window, pushed it open, and a cool breeze blew in. Although it is summer, the temperature is not high. Yifeng lit a cigarette and looked at the lush greenery outside. Just at this moment, several elegantly dressed women walked out of Ansu's shop. Ansu followed closely behind them with a smile on her face. At this time, Yifeng, who was standing upstairs, recognized at a glance the woman he had just met in the corridor. She walked to a car parked on the side of the road, got into the passenger seat and opened the window. When she looked up and out the window, her eyes met Yifeng's upstairs. Then the woman smiled at Yifeng. Seeing this, Yifeng nodded politely in response. As the car slowly drove away, Ansu turned around and went back into the store. Judging from the way they are dressed and the types of cars they drive, they are probably wealthy ladies. No wonder Ansu is so enthusiastic. It's already 5 o'clock. Yifeng is going to drink today, otherwise he won't be able to relieve the unhappiness in his heart. Before leaving, Ansu handed Yifeng a key to the front door. She also warmly invited Yifeng to dinner. Yifeng refused, saying that he had already made an appointment with his friends. In fact, Yifeng didn't. He just wanted to get drunk alone today. Ansu seemed a little disappointed, but still gave instructions with concern. Okay then, but remember to drink less alcohol, don't ruin your health. Yifeng smiled and nodded, indicating that he would be careful to exercise restraint. He knew in his heart that the reason why Ansu cared about him so much was because she didn't want to see him trapped by love. Yifeng came to the largest night market in the city. There are 2 bars and several KTVs nearby. It is very lively at night and even in the early morning. Yifeng found a seat and sat down, then ordered a case of beer, a portion of crayfish, 20 skewers of lamb, a plate of peanuts, and some smashed cucumbers. The total amount is no more than 200 yuan. Yifeng is not a stingy person, but he is used to being frugal. He is very stingy even when ordering dishes. The waiter recommended their roasted lamb leg as their signature dish, which is very popular. Would you like one? Yifeng said no. The waiter also recommended their pickled fish, which also sold very well. Yifeng said that this amount was enough for one person to eat. If not enough, order more. The waiter then turned away coldly. Yifeng thought that he was so frugal all the time because of this family. Save the money for Wang Chufen. A bottle of her facial makeup costs thousands. A set of clothes costs several hundred yuan. Cow. Sometimes I can't even afford to drink a bottle of mineral water when I'm outside. Lunch at noon. Yifeng always packed up the previous day's food and brought it to work the next day. Sometimes I can't bear to order takeout. But now it has ended up like this. Then Yifeng called the waiter. You just said your roasted lamb legs are selling very well. Yes. The waiter said coldly. One, please. And one serving of the pickled fish. Remember to make it spicy. The waiter's eyebrows danced. Okay. The waiter said, order roasted lamb leg, and we'll give you peanuts and smashed cucumber for free. We'll also give you a pot of draft beer. Feng smiled. That's how business is done. The waiter walked away at a brisk pace. Soon, everything was ready. The waiter asked Feng if he wanted to open all the beers. With more of these things, the service attitude has also improved. This chapter is not finished yet, please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. Feng said no. The waiter said politely, just call me if you need anything. Feng nodded. After the waiter left, Feng picked up a bottle of beer and drank it down in one gulp. Cool. He picked up the lamb leg and started to eat it. The waiter was right. The taste is really good. If it were under normal circumstances, Feng would definitely not be willing to eat it. A leg of lamb costs more than 300 yuan. Feng had a very happy meal today and also drank very happily. All the delicacies that he usually didn't want to order were ordered, including roasted kidney and lamb kidney. After drinking half a box of beer, Feng began to feel a little drunk. At this moment, the ugly things that Wang Chufeng had done involuntarily emerged in his mind, and an uncontrollable feeling of anger surged in his heart. So he called his mother-in-law directly. Tell her about Wang Chufeng's scandal and see what she says. Normally, the mother-in-law looks down on Feng. Gossip and idle talk. Once, Feng heard his mother-in-law tell Wang Chufeng that your husband is a poor guy and you will not get any benefits by following him. It's better to break up early. Fortunately, Wang Chufeng was speaking up for Feng at that time. There are countless such things. Therefore, Feng didn't have a good impression of his mother-in-law. However, everything now seems to be an illusion. After the call was connected, Feng directly told her about Wang Chufeng's affair. Feng thought that no matter what, Wang Chufeng was the one who made the mistake first. As Wang Chufeng's mother, she should be sensible. Feng was wrong. Wang Chufeng's mother said directly, my daughter did the right thing and she should have left you long ago. As the saying goes, if you are not from the same family, you will not enter the same door. Chapter 8 Counterattack. Feng, you still have the nerve to call me. Let me tell you, I haven't caused you any trouble yet. My daughter has been with you for so long, what kind of life has she lived? She only has a shabby house, which she bought with a mortgage. You don't even have a car, but you ask my daughter to ride an electric bike to get off work. What kind of man are you? With just that little salary every month, why are you still so proud? I have to hesitate for a long time even when buying a piece of clothing for my daughter. My daughter is so beautiful, and her friends are all married to big bosses or leaders. Only she was confused at the time and followed a worthless guy like you. You're really shameless for calling me now. She sneered and continued. To tell you the truth, Chiu Feng's current boyfriend is so much better than you are nothing. Also, my daughter said that her current boyfriends are better than you in bed. How dare you call us and question us? That's hilarious. After saying that, she burst into laughter, her laughter full of disdain and contempt, as if she was mocking Feng's incompetence and stupidity. Feng on the other end of the phone had a frighteningly gloomy expression on his face. His hand holding the phone was trembling slightly, and an uncontrollable anger surged in his heart. What kind of person is she? What kind of person is Wang Chufeng? Feng couldn't bear it any longer. Let us settle old and new accounts together. I treated you as my elder and told you this. But you are shameless. Is this how you act as a mother? No wonder your husband doesn't want you. Feng's words directly hit his mother-in-law's soft spot. At first, she just liked to dance outside and was not at home all day long. Even got a boss. Someone married her before. She broke up with her husband early on. Unexpectedly, in the end, he lost both the wife and the army. The boss didn't marry her, he was just playing with her. Here, her husband also abandoned her. In that era, which man would be willing to wear a green hat on his head? Wang Chufeng's mother angrily cursed, Feng, you bastard. Asshole. He will not die a good death. You deserve it because my daughter abandoned you. You are the garbage among men. Wang Chufeng's mother was like a mad bitch. Because she could never have imagined that Feng, who had always been submissive to her, would insult her like this. And it was a topic she had always been taboo about. The person on the other end of the phone cursed at everything. Yifeng listened halfway and put his phone aside. He lit a cigarette, took a slow puff, then glanced at the phone beside him. The voice of Wang Chufeng's mother came from the phone. Although I couldn't hear what he was saying. But Yifeng knew that it must be nothing good. He must have cursed all his ancestors. Yifeng laughed. She must be furious. After a while, there was silence on the other end of the phone. But suddenly there was a loud noise. Hey, Yifeng, you bastard, are you listening? Yifeng heard some of it. He smiled and picked up the phone and said, I recorded all your curse words. This can be considered an insult to others. What's wrong with just insulting you? I'm still going to beat you up. Okay, since you've said that, I don't have much to say. Let's go through the legal process. She sneered. Yifeng, who are you trying to scare? We were brought up by being scared. I tell you, you'd better prepare some money to compensate my daughter, otherwise we will never let you go. Yifeng smiled and said, it's not time to go to bed yet, but you're already dreaming. After saying that, he hung up the phone. Immediately, Wang Chufeng's mother called back. Yifeng didn't answer, so she got so angry that she kept fighting. On the other end of the phone, Wang Chufeng's mother was screaming in anger at home. She was so angry. This bastard Yifeng not only resisted today, but also had no fear of his own authority. This made Wang Chufeng very angry. I felt extremely insulted. Especially when talking about my past. He even wanted to kill Yifeng. Wang Chufeng's mother immediately called her daughter to complain. Here, Yifeng picked up a bottle of cold beer. He drank it in one gulp. It feels so good. Over the years, Wang Chufeng's mother has always been very picky about Yifeng. Yifeng has been tolerant for Wang Chufeng's sake. It's not that I'm afraid of Wang Chufeng's mother, I just respect her. Today, the haze in my heart has been swept away. Very refreshing. Yifeng lit a cigarette, and this was just the beginning. There are still many hard bones to chew in the future. Yifeng made up his mind. This time I will fight Wang Chufeng to the end. She must be taught the lesson she deserves. Just then, a noisy and bustling sound came from behind. Yifeng subconsciously turned his head and found that there were many people gathered not far away, seemingly watching some exciting event. From time to time, there were some wild laughs. I guess someone drank too much. Seeing that the lamb leg was a little cold, Yifeng called the waiter to heat it up and brought a bowl of smashed cucumber. However, at this moment, a familiar and clear voice came from the crowd. If you keep doing this, I'm going to call the police. Then there was a scream of "R." But what followed was a burst of laughter. Some people even started to make a fuss. Their voice sounded so familiar. This made Yifeng feel confused. Yifeng pricked up his ears and listened for a while. It was Ni Xiaoqian's voice. Yifeng put down his chopsticks and rushed into the crowd. Sure enough, I saw Ni Xiaoqian was surrounded by a few thugs with red faces and strong smell of alcohol. One of them reached out his hand without hesitation and tried to hug Ni Xiaoqian in a very rude manner. More and more spectators gathered around, but they were just busy taking photos and recording videos, and no one was willing to step forward to help Ni Xiaoqian. Let that girl go. Yifeng rushed into the crowd and shouted. Everyone present looked at Yifeng. Ni Xiaoqian saw that it was Yifeng. While the gangster was not paying attention, he broke free and ran behind Yifeng. Yifeng glanced at Ni Xiaoqian, who was looking frightened. He said firmly, "Don't worry, I'm here." At this time, the yellow-haired man who had just been rude to Ni Xiaoqian staggered in front of Yifeng. He reeked of alcohol. He pointed at Yifeng and said, "Brother, I want to be a hero and save the damsel in distress." After he finished speaking, he walked up to Yifeng and whispered, "Brother, don't be impatient. Wait until we're done playing, then you can play." After saying that, Huang Mao started laughing. The stench in his mouth made Yifeng feel nauseous. Shameless person. Get out. Yifeng said angrily. The yellow-haired man roared angrily. Fuck, you are so shameless. He cursed and swung his fist at Yifeng. Chapter 9, A Hero Saves a Beauty. Ni Xiaoqian on the side shouted anxiously, "Be careful." However, Yifeng showed extraordinary calmness and agility. He quickly dodged the yellow-haired man's attack. Seeing that his fist missed, Wang Mao felt ashamed and angrily waved his fist again and rushed towards Yifeng. However, Yifeng did not confront him head-on, but used his physical skills flexibly to quickly avoid the opponent's attacks. As Yifeng kept dodging, the yellow-haired man's attack became more and more rapid and panicked. Finally, during an attack, Wang Mao accidentally lost his balance and fell to the ground in a miserable state. The onlookers burst into laughter. His followers also gathered around and quickly helped Wang Mao up. Wang Mao lost face. Very angry. He simply pushed away the younger brother who was supporting him. Then he pulled a knife from his trouser pocket. When the onlookers saw this, some of them couldn't help but express their concerns. One of his followers remained calm upon seeing this. He stepped forward and persuaded Wang Mao to put away the knife. The yellow-haired man kicked him and said, "Fuck it, get out of here." The follower stopped trying to persuade him. The yellow-haired man waved the knife in front of Yifeng. "Kneel down and apologize now, kid, or I'll come in with a white knife and come out with a red knife." Seeing that he was drunk and his hand holding the knife was unsteady, Yifeng was not worried at all. However, Nai Xiaoqian on the side persuaded Yifeng to leave quickly and not to show off. Yifeng said, "Look, can you run away?" Only then did Nai Xiaoqian realize that her yellow-haired hair had already surrounded them. "Brother, using a knife is a serious matter," Yifeng said. Wang Mao burst into laughter. "Damn it, now you're scared. I thought you were so awesome just now. Kneel down for me, or you'll be in trouble today." "That's impossible. If anyone is going to kneel, it should be you kneeling before this lady. Damn it, you're looking for death by keeping your mouth shut." As he spoke, the yellow-haired man was already waving the dagger in his hand towards Yifeng. Yifeng knew in his heart that he could no longer hide at this moment and he had to make this kid suffer. Thinking of this, he reacted quickly and jerked his body to the side. However, just as he avoided the attack, he found that Nai Xiaoqian behind him was completely exposed to the yellow-haired man's dagger. Seeing that the dagger in the yellow-haired man's hand was about to stab Nai Xiaoqian, the situation became extremely critical. At the critical moment, Yifeng had no time to think. He raised his foot and kicked hard, directly kicking the yellow-haired man's arm. The yellow-haired man let out a scream and the dagger in his hand fell to the ground. He covered the part where he was kicked and screamed in pain. At the same time, Wang Mao's followers saw this scene and rushed towards Yifeng waving their fists. Despite being besieged by many people, Yifeng remained calm and fearless. Although one person cannot defeat many, this drunk bastard is no match for Yifeng at all. After a while, those men were knocked to the ground by Yifeng. At this time, Wang Mao wanted to rush forward, but Yifeng glared at him and said angrily, "If you come again, I will break your legs today." Wang Mao was frightened. "I'm half sober now. I know that if I continue to argue, I will definitely suffer." So he left cursing. Yifeng stopped him directly and asked him to apologize to Nai Xiaoqian. Although Wang Mao was not convinced, he had no choice. Said, "Excuse me." Then he left in shame. However, after Wang Mao walked some distance away, he started shouting again. "Boy, if you have the guts, don't leave." Yifeng smiled. The onlookers burst into applause. Everyone says Yifeng is great. Yifeng took a deep breath. If they had stood up to help Nai Xiaoqian just now, things wouldn't have turned out like this. People are so cold-hearted. "Thank you, Yifeng," Nai Xiaoqian said with a smile. After the words fell, Nai Xiaoqian continued, "Are you okay?" "It's okay." Yifeng stretched his muscles. "Come on, I'll buy you a drink to show your help to me." "Okay, but I was just having a barbecue nearby, and I hadn't finished eating when I saw them bullying you. Let's go together, is that okay?" Nai Xiaoqian smiled, "No problem." When Yifeng came to the place where he had just had barbecue again, I found that the table was already clean. Yifeng quickly asked the waiter where the things on the table were. The waiter said, "We thought you had finished eating, so we cleared it away." Yifeng said unhappily, "I haven't even taken a few bites of the food I ordered." The waiter said coldly, "Never mind, since you're leaving, we'll take it away. What do you want to do, make trouble?" When Yifeng heard this, he thought it was quite arrogant. You were so polite for ordering so many things just now. Now he has this look again. It's okay to take the food. But you should at least return the unopened beer to me. The waiter said, "Once the guests have left what they ordered, we don't want any of it." If you want to find it, go to the nearby trash can. As he spoke, he pointed with his finger. Yifeng thought this was too ridiculous. How can you do business like this? Yifeng also wanted him to call the boss over. Ni Xiaoqian stopped him. Forget it, Yifeng. Let's order again. So he asked the waiter to serve all their special dishes. The waiter's expression immediately relaxed and he started serving the dishes. We can't spoil them too much, Yifeng said. Well, running a small business is not easy either, Ni Xiaoqian said with a smile. My dear, there is more to this chapter. Please click on the next page to continue reading. It's even more exciting later. Yifeng smiled. Ni Xiaoqian was not short of money, so of course she didn't care. Just spending money on myself costs 2,000 yuan. Yifeng thought about it and decided to give up. If he continued to pester Ni Xiaoqian, it would make her think he was stingy. Men still need some face. Anyway, Ni Xiaoqian will treat us this meal. Soon, the table was filled with food. The waiter said enthusiastically, take your time to eat. If you need anything, you can always call me. Yifeng felt that she was very good at the face-changing technique. Ni Xiaoqian filled a glass of beer for Yifeng and then filled her own. She raised her glass. Come, Yifeng, I'll toast you a glass. Thank you for saving my life just now. After saying that, she drank the wine in the glass without hesitation. Yifeng looked at Ni Xiaoqian generously. He smiled slightly and drank the beer in his glass in one gulp. After putting down the wine glass, Yifeng smiled and said to Ni Xiaoqian, Miss Ni, you are too polite. It can't be said that I saved your life. It's just a small favor. You're being modest. The guy with the yellow hair just now is a local thug who usually hangs out in bars and KTVs. Today, I was drinking in a bar and he came up to tease me. I ignored him, so he followed me out. It's a good thing I met you today, otherwise I don't know what to do. Come, let me toast you another glass. As she said that, Ni Xiaoqian filled Yifeng's glass and filled her own as well. Then he drank it in one gulp. Yifeng smiled, raised his glass and drank it down in big gulps. Come, have an oyster. Ni Xiaoqian placed the oyster in front of Yifeng. After thanking him, Yifeng started eating. At this time, Ni Xiaoqian's cell phone rang. She picked up the phone calmly. Miss Ni, where are you? My people have arrived. Chapter 10 The Thief Cries Thief. It's all right now. Ms. Ni, are they holding you hostage? The other party asked nervously. If I say it's okay, then it's okay. You can go back. I can take care of myself. That's it. Then, Ni Xiaoqian hung up the phone. Just now at the bar, the yellow-haired guy harassed Ni Xiaoqian. Ni Xiaoqian told Tan Jun. After Tan Jun found out, he immediately arranged for someone to come over. Ni Xiaoqian thought that there were too many people in the bar and Wang Mao wouldn't dare to do anything rash. I didn't expect that Wang Mao had no moral ethics and even had the audacity to tease Ni Xiaoqian. Ni Xiaoqian didn't bother to continue and walked out of the bar. But I didn't know that Wang Mao and the others followed me all their way. Fortunately, she met Yifeng, otherwise Ni Xiaoqian would definitely suffer. Ni Xiaoqian had just hung up the phone when Tan Jun called. Ni Xiaoqian gestured to Yifeng to eat slowly while she answered a phone call. Tan Jun is a local entrepreneur and has some influence in the local area. Friends in the underworld all give you face. Ni Xiaoqian is his confidant, yet someone is bullying her. He is really very brave. Tan Jun was very angry and sent his capable men to resolve the matter. Tan Jun asked what the situation was now. Ni Xiaoqian said, everything is fine now. Fortunately, I met a friend who helped me teach Wang Mao and his gang a lesson. Xiaoqian, sorry, I'm late, said Tan Jun. It's fine now. All problems have been solved. But thank you anyway. It's too formal to say that. We are close friends. At this time, Ni Xiaoqian remembered the threat Wang Mao made when he left. I couldn't help but worry about Yifeng. Wang Mao has been hanging around in this area for many years. Very arrogant. Many girls in nearby bars have been bullied by him. His eldest brother is a big shot in the city's underworld and has some influence. Tan Jun, I have to trouble you with one more thing. Wang Mao just said something harsh, and I don't want my friend to be threatened by Wang Mao for helping me. Leave this to me. Don't worry. Thank you. You're welcome. By the way, remember to attend tomorrow's dinner. I've already customized your dress for you. I'll have it delivered to you tomorrow. I said I wouldn't participate, but you still did this. If you don't come, where can I find a female companion? Ni Xiaoqian laughed. Okay, you help me and I'll help you. Promise. Tan Jun laughed. Yifeng was faced with a table full of delicious food, all of which were his favorites. I was reluctant to order just now, but now Ni Xiaoqian has ordered it. At this time, Yifeng's cell phone rang. At first glance, it was Wang Chufeng calling. Yifeng smiled, and sure enough, his mother-in-law called her daughter. Yifeng took a sip of beer and answered the phone. Yifeng, you bastard, you are so bold to speak to my mother like that. Yifeng sneered. Wang Chufeng, you still have the nerve to call me after doing all those ugly things you did. I did those ugly things, so what? You useless man. You really think you are a warm-hearted guy, but actually you are just a poor guy. To tell you the truth, I married you just to make it easier for me to be with my boyfriend, Wang Dali. Yifeng was familiar with the name Wang Dali. He is Wang Chufeng's boss. I didn't expect this bitch to have been like this for a long time. It turns out that everything before was just an act. No wonder she has always refused to have a child with me. It turns out it was premeditated. In addition, Wang Chufeng often works overtime and goes on business trips from time to time. All for fooling around with her boss. I used to trust Wang Chufeng too much. Now that I think about it, I was just an idiot. What a complete idiot. Hearing these words, Yifeng felt heartbroken. He once had full of trust and love for Wang Chufeng, but now he found himself being deceived so thoroughly. My heart is filled with anger and pain. Cow. Wang Chufeng, all my efforts over the years have gone to waste. Wang Chufeng smiled coldly. Yifeng, don't be angry. Being angry is bad for your health. Let me tell you one more thing. You are wasting a man. You are not good at that. After saying this, Wang Chufeng burst into laughter. Yifeng took a deep breath and tried to calm himself down. He knew now was not the time to break down. At this moment, Wang Chufeng must be hoping that she would become extremely angry. She is happy. Yifeng smiled faintly. Wang Chufeng, even though you are smiling happily now, your fate will be no different from your mother's. Wang Chufeng became anxious. He started swearing directly. Yifeng hung up the phone without hesitation. There's no point in talking to a woman like this. We must really defeat her. After Ni Xiaoqian came back from talking to Tan Jun on the phone, she saw that Yifeng didn't look very well. She asked with concern, Yifeng, what's wrong? Are you feeling unwell? It's okay. Yifeng lit a cigarette and took a deep puff. Ni Xiaoqian is a woman, and she saw that Yifeng was in a low mood. Or quarrel with your girlfriend. Or get dumped. When Yifeng provided home service yesterday, Ni Xiaoqian noticed something was wrong. Arguing with your girlfriend again? Ni Xiaoqian said with a smile. Yifeng didn't respond. Ni Xiaoqian smiled. My method didn't work yesterday. Women need to be coaxed. Yifeng took a deep breath and smiled bitterly. My dear, there is more to this chapter. Please click on the next page to continue reading. It's even more exciting later. Under the influence of alcohol, Yifeng couldn't help but speak out the pain in his heart. My wife cheated on me and I've been cuckolded for several years. When Ni Xiaoqian heard this, she was stunned. He asked softly, Yifeng, is this true? Do you have any evidence? Yifeng smiled bitterly and replied, of course it's true. How could I lie to you about this? Is that interesting? After saying that, he picked up the glass and drank the beer in one breath. Ni Xiaoqian filled his glass with wine and comforted him. Don't be sad. Since it has already happened, let it go. A good man like you will definitely meet a woman who truly treats you well. However, Yifeng smiled helplessly. I have no money and no skills now. In this realistic society, which woman would be willing to be with me? What kind of woman do you want to find? Tell me, I will definitely help you find it. Yifeng just smiled and rejected her kindness. Thank you for your concern. Actually, it's good this way. I can be free and don't have to worry too much. Yifeng said self-deprecatingly. Come on, let's continue drinking. As he said that, he raised his glass and gently clinked it with Unraveling's. Yifeng drank another gulp and couldn't help burping. I couldn't help but chuckle. Seeing this, Unraveling thought Yifeng was drunk. She told Yifeng to stop drinking and drink some mineral water. Yifeng smiled and said he was fine. What do you mean it's nothing? I just drank too much. Unraveling poured water for Yifeng. At this time, Wang Chufen's voice came. Yifeng, you are fooling around with other women outside. You are the thief crying thief. Chapter 11 The Unexpected. Tonight, Wang Chufen and Wang Dali came out for a midnight snack and had just sat down. Wang Chufen suddenly saw Yifeng and a strange woman sitting at a table not far away. Wang Chufen frowned, anger rising in her heart. Because just an hour ago, she received a call from her mother, who told her that Yifeng verbally insulted her. This made Wang Chufen very angry, and she had originally planned to go find Yifeng tonight to argue with him. But because Wang Dali called her and invited her out for a midnight snack, she temporarily gave up the idea. She never expected to meet him here. Yifeng raised his head and saw Wang Chufen standing beside him with a frown on his face. Standing next to him was Wang Dali. Wang Dali looked at Yifeng with pride. Yifeng, you have the nerve to say that to me. You are not a good guy either. You just broke up with me and you're hanging out with this woman. After saying that, Wang Chufen sneered. I thought you were some kind of gentleman. Also a garbage person. After she finished speaking, Wang Chufen turned to Unraveling and said, Girl, you look pretty. Don't be fooled by him. He has nothing, he's a poor bastard. Don't lose your body and have no place to cry. After saying this, Wang Chufen laughed disdainfully. Yifeng stood up and said angrily, Wang Chufen, please be respectful. Wang Dali saw this and immediately pointed at Yifeng and said, Why are you so fierce? Believe it or not, I will break your teeth. Wang Chufen sneered. Respect? I respect a piece of trash like you. Damn, don't you see what kind of character you have? Yifeng looked at Wang Chufen's arrogant look. This is her true face. I'm having dinner with my friends, please leave now. If you have anything to say, we can talk later. Let's talk about it later. Are you worried that I'll embarrass you? I'm going to embarrass you today, what can you do about it? Unraveling looked at this arrogant and foul-mouthed woman. It should be Yifeng's wife. If you don't teach a lesson to such a vulgar woman, she won't know her place. Unraveling lit up a woman's cigarette, took a puff, and stood up. Then he spit towards Wang Chufen. Wang Chufen's face suddenly became extremely gloomy. How dare you spit smoke at me? Are you tired of living? Before she finished her words, she raised her hand and slapped Unraveling hard. Yifeng reacted quickly. He leaned forward nimbly and grabbed Wang Chufen's wrist. That's enough. Stop being unreasonable, he shouted. Yifeng, you useless thing, how dare you attack me? Wang Chufen was so angry that she started cursing. She didn't expect that Yifeng would fight with her for this woman. At the same time, Wang Dali saw Wang Chufen being bullied, and his anger instantly ignited. He roared, clenched his fists, and punched Yifeng fiercely. Yifeng dodged the attack by moving sideways skillfully. Two people bullying one person is nothing. However, looking at the character of both of you, you don't seem like a big deal either, said Unraveling. What did you say? Wang Chufen said angrily to Unraveling. Don't you understand what I said? Unless you are deaf. Wang Chufen saw that she was sharp-tongued. Just now Yifeng helped her to do something to himself. I concluded in my heart that this woman must have a close relationship with Yifeng. Wang Chufen felt humiliated. If I don't teach her a lesson today, I will lose face. So, a slap came towards Unraveling. Unraveling didn't give Wang Chufen any chance and quickly stepped forward and slapped her in the face. Wang Chufen was stunned. This slap tells you to be polite outside. After saying that, Unraveling slapped Wang Chufen again. This slap is a lesson for you. Keep your mouth clean. Wang Chufen was slapped twice. I was completely stunned. She didn't expect this woman to be so powerful. I felt a little scared. But he still didn't let it go. Wang Dali saw his woman being beaten. Damn it, you dare to hit my woman. You must be tired of living. As he said that, he punched Unraveling. It happened almost immediately. Yifeng had already thrown a punch. Wang Dali was hit in the face and was so frightened that he dared not move. Wang Chufeng and Wang Dali originally thought that they could show off in front of Yifeng. Unexpectedly, I suffered a great loss. The atmosphere suddenly became awkward. If I leave like this, I will definitely lose face. But if I don't leave, I won't be a match for the other party. At this moment, Wang Chufeng's eyes turned and she suddenly thought of an idea. She looked at Wang Dali and said through gritted teeth, "Dali, call the police. If they beat people up, let the police deal with them." When Wang Dali heard this, he immediately took out his cell phone to call the police. Ni Xiaoqian took a puff of cigarette and laughed. "Okay, then wait for the police to come. But when the time comes, you have to think carefully about how to explain why you hit someone first. Let's see whether the police's investigation will determine that we acted in self-defense." When Wang Dali heard this, he quickly put down his phone. "Stop scaring me." Wang Chufeng pointed at Ni Xiaoqian and said loudly. Ni Xiaoqian's face darkened and her eyes became sharp. "I hate it most when people point at me." This chapter is not finished yet. Please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. Wang Chufeng was frightened by Ni Xiaoqian's sharp eyes. She knew this woman was not easy to mess with. "My mouth still hurts from those 2 slaps just now." However, Wang Chufeng didn't want to lose face. Especially in front of Yifeng. She stammered, "What's wrong with pointing at you? Which law doesn't allow pointing at people?" Her voice trembled a little, but she still pretended to be calm. At this time, Wang Dali also realized that if they continued like this, they would not gain any advantage at all. Instead, he brought disgrace upon himself. He quickly pulled Wang Chufeng and whispered, "Okay, stop arguing, let's go. We can talk about it tomorrow if there is anything." Although Wang Chufeng was still a little unconvinced, she took the opportunity to go down. As she walked, she cursed under her breath. Seeing this, Ni Xiaoqian smiled with disdain. Such a woman seems to be sharp-tongued, but she will be scared when she meets a strong man. She responded loudly, "Don't let me run into you again. Otherwise, I'll beat you up every time I see you." After Ni Xiaoqian finished speaking, Wang Dali and Wang Chufeng's pace obviously quickened. When Ni Xiaoqian saw this scene, she couldn't help but burst into laughter, and her laughter was full of ridicule for the 2 people's cowardice. At this time, Yifeng on the side was looking at Ni Xiaoqian. Her behavior towards Wang Chufeng just now let him realize that this woman is not simple. At this time, Ni Xiaoqian noticed that Yifeng was looking at her. Ni Xiaoqian knew what she had just done to that woman. Yifeng must have felt unexpected. Chapter 12, Going to the bar. "Yifeng, I'm sorry. I just helped you. If your wife causes trouble for you, ask her to come to me," Ni Xiaoqian said. Yifeng laughed. "This woman has some tricks up her sleeve. There's nothing to be embarrassed about. I should also thank you for helping me vent my anger. With a mouth like hers, 2 mouths are not enough. If it were me, I really couldn't do it." Ni Xiaoqian laughed when she saw this. She was a little worried just now. Although the woman provoked herself. But after all, he beat someone's wife. "Yifeng, that means you owe me a favor." Ni Xiaoqian blinked. Yifeng smiled, "Let's be even, I just saved you too." Ni Xiaoqian laughed again. She felt that Yifeng was becoming more and more interesting. "No, that won't do. You'd better owe me this favor first. I'll need your help in the future if I need anything," Ni Xiaoqian said mischievously. After hearing this, Yifeng was too lazy to argue with her. He also smiled and nodded, "Okay, then I'll owe you a favor, but don't expect me to help you with anything big, because I'm just a loser. Yifeng, you underestimate yourself. I think you will be successful in the future." Yifeng laughed. "If I become rich in the future, I will definitely make you rich with me just for what you said to me today." Ni Xiaoqian burst into laughter. Yifeng also burst into laughter. The atmosphere between the two became relaxed and cheerful. They began to talk about some trivial things in life and share each other's interests, hobbies, and dreams. Yifeng, under the influence of drunkenness, mocked himself for being a real failure. "My career is a mess. I'm still unemployed now. What about emotions? It's even more of a mess. As a man, I was cuckolded by a woman. It's so pathetic." Yifeng said self-deprecatingly while drunk, "I am such a loser." Ni Xiaoqian asked curiously, "Why do you say that?" Yifeng replied with a wry smile. My career is in tatters and I'm now unemployed. The emotional aspect is even worse. I was actually cuckolded by a woman. How pathetic. After saying that, he picked up the wine glass and drank it all. Ni Xiaoqian listened to his talk quietly. She consoled him, life always has ups and downs, and everyone will encounter difficulties. What matters is how you face them and stand up again. Yifeng smiled bitterly. But I still have to thank you for letting me escape from the difficulties temporarily. Ni Xiaoqian laughed. There are many paths in life, and you don't necessarily have to do those so-called high-end jobs. Do you want to continue working as a masseur? Ni Xiaoqian smiled and said, I see that you have good skills, it's a good choice. Although Yifeng thinks this business is quite profitable. But I always feel that this industry is somewhat despicable. It's never a good thing if this gets out. Ni Xiaoqian laughed and said, you are too chauvinistic. As long as the industry is legitimate and you can make money, you don't care about face. When you make money, face will come naturally. If you don't make money, you won't have any face at all. Yifeng was very clear about this. Otherwise, Wang Chufeng would not have left me. In fact, Yifeng started to re-examine his future career development since he started working part-time at Aunt Sue's place. No matter how your job develops, it will only be like that. It's impossible to make big money. The income from working for Aunt Sue has long exceeded my own salary. If this market is stable, it may be feasible to start a massage business in the future. Yifeng smiled. Pick up the glass and take a sip. Let's talk about it later. Let's deal with the things at hand first. Yifeng, just tell me if you have any problems. You're welcome. I will help you. After he finished speaking, Ni Xiaoqian stretched out his hand. The moment Yifeng touched her, he felt her hand was as smooth as her skin. Thanks. Yifeng raised his head and his eyes met with Ni Xiaoqian's. After saying that, Yifeng raised his glass. Ni Xiaoqian also raised her glass. Their eyes met again. Before I knew it, it was already 11 o'clock. The environment here becomes more lively. Young boys and girls are enjoying their youth to the fullest. Wang Chufeng once said that those who go to bars and KTVs are not serious people. He warned Yifeng not to go to that place as it was easy to learn bad things. Yifeng had never been to a bar. I only go to KTV to sing songs when I have dinner with colleagues. She often drinks in bars and KTVs. Now that I think about it, Wang Chufeng is just a beast in disguise. Pua yourself. I am not a good person. Is the bar fun? Yifeng asked. Ni Xiaoqian was stunned. You've never been there. Yifeng smiled and said, I had never been there before I got married, and after we got married my wife wouldn't let me go. Ni Xiaoqian laughed. Of course it's fun. If it wasn't fun, would the bars around here be doing so well? Take you out for some fun? Okay. Yifeng said with a smile. The lights in the bar were flashing, the music was deafening, and the crowd on the dance floor was swaying to the rhythm. The bartenders were busy mixing various cocktails. The boys and girls are dressed in fashionable clothes, their faces are filled with youthful vitality. They either sit around the bar chatting or dance on the dance floor. Their whole bar is full of youthful atmosphere and enthusiasm, it's so lively. Although Yifeng often saw this kind of scene in movies and TV dramas. But when I actually experienced it, I still felt a little restrained. Ni Xiaoqian directly took Yifeng's hand and danced to the rhythm of the music on the dance floor. He wanted to release his pent-up emotions. During the break, Yifeng was sweating profusely. But he felt great. The resentment in my heart seemed to have disappeared by a large margin. Ni Xiaoqian asked the waiter to bring 2 glasses of brandy. It was the first time for Yifeng to drink this kind of foreign liquor, and he felt a little uncomfortable. Just say some beer. Ni Xiaoqian laughed and said that it was too unfashionable to drink beer in a place like this, and that one should go to a late-night snack shop to drink beer. Yifeng smiled. At this time, Ni Xiaoqian's phone rang, and she motioned Yifeng to go out and answer the call. As soon as Ni Xiaoqian left, a woman dressed fashionably and sexy walked in front of Yifeng. Handsome guy, are you alone? Can you buy me a drink? As she said this, the woman threw him a coquettish glance. Yifeng smiled and said, sorry, I have someone to accompany me. Hey! Handsome guy, you don't need anyone to accompany you if you have someone to accompany you. After saying that, she sat directly next to Yifeng and put one hand on Yifeng's thigh. Yifeng quickly pushed her away. Don't be like this, okay? The woman sneered, when you're out here to have fun, just relax a little. Why are you so restrained? Come on, let's dance. Then she reached out to take Yifeng's hand. Although this woman is very sexy, with her chest and back exposed. Anyone who sees it can't help but take a look. But Yifeng still had self-awareness and quickly refused. Seeing this, the woman couldn't help but sneer. Chapter 13, Wine Sales. Handsome guy, come and play, you don't even hold my hand or dance, how boring. Yifeng knew that the bar was a mixed crowd, so it was better to stay away from it. Yifeng smiled and said, I told you, I have a friend. She just went out to answer the phone and will be here soon. The woman sighed. Well, if that's the case, I won't force you. But you can always buy me a drink, right? Yifeng was not a stingy person, so he asked the waiter to give the lady a glass of beer. The woman's face immediately darkened. I don't like drinking this, I like the way you drink it. Yifeng wanted to send her away quickly, so he asked the waiter to give her a glass of brandy as well. But the woman said that one glass was not enough for her and she wanted a bottle. When Yifeng heard this, he thought, you are taking me for a fool. This glass of brandy probably isn't cheap. One bottle is enough. Girl, I'm already giving you face by inviting you to have a drink. Ask for a bottle, and I'll be the wine carrier. When the woman heard this, she became anxious. Handsome guy, what do you mean? She looked at Yifeng provocatively. You have to have evidence when you speak. You slander me for no reason like this. Do you think I can't afford to drink, or do you think I'm easy to bully? It's so ridiculous. Don't you see what kind of person you are? What he wears are all cheap goods. The other party was so unreasonable that Yifeng became more certain that he was a sommelier. Even if he is not, he is the kind of person who eats and drinks for free. Then please leave. Yifeng said expressionlessly. The woman sneered, with a hint of contempt in her eyes. Handsome guy, you know, when I'm here, as long as I want to drink, there are countless men vying to buy me a drink. And I took the initiative to ask you to treat me to a drink because you are pretty good looking, so I gave you a chance. If I am happy, I would let you enjoy this wonderful night with me. How dare you reject me? You really don't know what's good for you. Yifeng smiled and said, you are not worthy of it. Go find someone else. Women are very unhappy when they are turned away here. He left angrily. I thought the matter was over. Unexpectedly, 5 minutes later, she came back with a man in strange clothes. Judging from his demeanor, he must have been drinking. He had a cigarette between his lips. He pointed at Yifeng and said, Brother, my name is Bin. People here call me Brother Bin. What do you mean? Our Wenwen is the most beautiful girl here, why don't you even want to buy her a glass of wine? Inviting her to drink is a sign of your face. There are so many men here who want to invite her to drink, but others don't have the chance. Yifeng chuckled. Light a cigarette. Take a slow breath. This woman named Wenwen really knows how to talk nonsense. I clearly want to drink a bottle of wine. It turned into a cup in Bin's mouth. Brother, since you are so beautiful, please buy me a drink. Oh shit. You are shameless even though you are given face. You really think you are someone? Bin said angrily. I'm indeed nothing. After saying that, Yifeng ignored it and took out his mobile phone to watch Douyin. Bin glanced at Wenwen. Wenwen put her hands on her chest. Signaled Bin to deal with him. Bin walked up to Yifeng and pulled the cigarette out of Yifeng's mouth. Brother, I'll give you another chance. Would you like to treat our Wenwen to a drink? Bin looked at Yifeng with his eyes slanted. Yifeng smiled and then spoke to a middle-aged man sitting in a nearby booth. Brother, this is Wenwen, she is the most beautiful girl here, and many men want to buy her a drink. How about you buy her a drink? The middle-aged man cursed, you're crazy. Please treat me if I want. Yifeng felt embarrassed to say hello. Then he said to Bin, Brother, it seems that your Wenwen is not very popular. Bin was so embarrassed that he couldn't save his face. He walked up to Yifeng, grabbed his collar and spoke angrily. Fuck. You are shameless even though I gave you face. Yifeng thought to himself, the bar is indeed a place where all kinds of people mix. But he was not afraid. Instead, he responded calmly, Yes, I am really shameless today. After saying that, he quickly took action and pushed Abin down onto the coffee table in front of him with a backhand. Abin was shocked by this sudden change. Feng exerted force. Abin screamed in pain. He had never seen such a scene before. Usually he only fools honest people. I didn't expect to meet such a tough guy today. Wen, who was standing by, was also frightened, and she quickly took the opportunity to slip away. Wen is 20 years old this year. She has fair skin, pretty face and plump figure. After dropping out of school, he often hung out in nearby bars and made a living by selling alcohol. Tonight, Wen was looking for her target in the bar as usual. I noticed a strange middle-aged man sitting alone in a booth, quietly sipping a glass of brandy. Not many people come to the bar to drink foreign liquor. She felt that the other party was a rich man. But Wen didn't expect to be rejected by the other party. She was unwilling to give up like this. After all, the other party seemed to be very rich. If she could successfully get him to buy wine, she would be able to get a lot of commission. So she asked Abin to scare him. Feng looked at Abin's painful expression and couldn't help laughing. These guys are just some small-time hooligans. This chapter is not finished yet. Please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. Just bluffing people. When you meet someone powerful, you become timid. Brother, am I giving you face today, or are you giving me face? Abin begged for mercy. Brother, you are giving me face. I was wrong, brother. Then, Feng let go of Abin and said lightly, get out of here. When Feng let go of Abin became proud again. He straightened his clothes. Then he said to Feng viciously, brother, you are good, don't leave, I will find someone to kill you. After saying that, he quickly shuttled into the crowd and disappeared. Feng smiled, lit another cigarette, leaned back on the sofa, and closed his eyes slightly. He didn't take such threats seriously at all. Feng leaned on the sofa and fell asleep in a daze. In sleep, Wang Qiufeng's face was covered in blood and her eyes were filled with despair and fear. She knelt down and desperately begged Feng for help. Please, save me. Feng tried to help Wang Qiufeng, but found himself unable to move. I tried my best to move but couldn't. At this time, he noticed a figure appearing behind Wang Qiufeng, approaching her step by step. The figure looked familiar, but Feng could not see his face clearly. Just then, a noisy sound came into Feng's ears. He opened his eyes suddenly. I found that there were several people around me. Among them is Abin. Feng knew what was going on. This kid really counts. Feng couldn't help but wonder what day it was today. So many people want to do it with me. Chapter 14, Being Threatened. The leader had a scar on his face and a big gold chain around his neck, looking very arrogant. Abin stood aside, staring at Feng fiercely. Brother Xiong, this is the man who not only beat me, but also boasted that no one here can beat him. No matter who comes, he is not afraid. Abin pointed at Feng and said. Feng frowned and cursed these little hooligans in his heart for talking nonsense. Before Feng could speak, the scarred man said angrily, I don't care who you are. If you come to my place today, you must abide by my rules. You beat my people, which means you broke my rules. I will never let go of anyone who breaks the rules. Now I give you two options. First, get beaten up by us, then get out. Second, I'll spend money to save your face. You make your own choice. Feng couldn't help but laugh after hearing this. These little thugs who are relying on the power of others to bully others are still doing it for money in the end. I thought he was going to take action as soon as he came up. What kind of brotherhood? What a righteous man. They are all fake. Feng stretched, yawned and said, what if I don't choose anything? When the scarred man heard this, he sneered. He took out a pack of cigarettes from his pocket, flicked it lightly, and a cigarette popped out. Seeing this, Feng tried to be cool. Seeing this, the younger brother at the side quickly took out a lighter and handed it to the man with the scar. The scarred man put the cigarette in his mouth and lit it in a cool manner. He took a deep breath and exhaled the smoke slowly, his eyes full of provocation and threat. Then he spoke in a low and cold voice. Well, I'm sorry, but don't even think about leaving this room today. And I'm warning you, if the bar owner comes over later, you'll be dead. The bosses who can open a bar are all capable. How can we allow such a little hooligan to mess around here? Then who dares to come here in the future? It's misleading. These people just hang around in these places and make as much money as they can. The man with the scar saw that Feng didn't speak. He was secretly pleased with himself, thinking that he had the situation under control. I would like to meet the boss, Feng said with a smile. Seeing Feng's attitude, the scarred man was not panicked. He had seen people like this before. Looks very calm and awesome. He became obedient as soon as the fight started. The scarred man took a deep puff on his cigarette. Then he spit towards Feng. You can meet the boss, 3 bottles of brandy, and apologize to my brother. Feng felt that, after all, it was still about wine. These little hooligans are just that useless. Brother, that's all you can do. You're dismissed with just 3 bottles of wine. Your worth is too low. If it were me, at least I would pay for it today. The man with the scar could tell that it was Feng who was insulting him. When I meet these people in normal times, they will behave themselves immediately after being scared off. Today is an exception. He also felt that the other party was not so easy to deal with. However, if I don't care, how will my brothers view me? He slammed the table so hard that the wine glasses on the table jumped up. Then he pointed at Feng viciously and said, Damn! Are you tired of living? Keep on complaining. Before he finished speaking, his fist came over like a torrential rain. As the lights in the bar suddenly flickered out, Feng was caught off guard and was hit hard by his punch, and he felt a sharp pain on his face. Seeing this, the man with the scar burst into laughter, as if he was sure of victory. The younger brothers behind him also started laughing, and the laughter echoed in the air. The scarred man proudly grabbed Feng's collar again and said arrogantly, Brother, you brought this upon yourself, you can't blame anyone else. However, at this moment, Feng suddenly exerted force and slammed his head into the scarred man. The blow was so powerful that the scarred man was caught off guard. He covered his eyes in pain and screamed. Seeing this, his men came over and beat Feng up. The scene suddenly became chaotic. These little hooligans are no match for Feng at all. In a few moves, Feng knocked them all to the ground. They lay on the ground with painful expressions on their faces. At this time, the man with the scar took advantage of Feng's inattention, picked up the beer bottle on the table and threw it at Feng. Seeing this, Feng turned his body to the side to avoid the attack from the scarred man. Then he kicked the beer bottle out of the scarred man's hand. The beer bottle fell to the ground and exploded with a bang, sending glass fragments flying everywhere. Who is causing trouble here? A deep voice sounded. Everyone turned around and saw a smart-looking man in a suit walking towards them. He was followed by several men in suits. It looks like he is the security guard of the bar. The scarred man stepped forward and said flatteringly, Brother Xiong, this guest is causing trouble and even injured my brother. Brother Xiong glared at the scarred man and said coldly, You'd better not cause any trouble for me, or you'll be in trouble. The scarred man smiled innocently and quickly explained, Brother Xiong, how could I dare to do that? It was really this man who first molested our wine cellar when and then beat up a bean. Now my brothers have been injured, you have to take charge of us. Get you out of here first. Brother Xiong said coldly. Yes, Brother Xiong. The scarred man followed his men and left. This chapter is not finished yet, please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. Brother Xiong walked up to Feng. Brother, I'm sorry for disturbing your fun today. We'll pay for your consumption here today. Feng felt that he was a sensible person. Seeing this, the man with the scar wondered why Brother Xiong said such things to this guy. Could it be that he didn't hear clearly what was just said because the environment was too noisy? So he interrupted and said, Brother Xiong, this kid is the one causing trouble. Brother Xiong gave the scarred man a cold look. The scarred man was so scared that he quickly lowered his head and stepped aside. Thank you, Feng said. The drinks are free, but how are we going to settle the score for you injuring these brothers? Oh shit. Give sweetness first. Adding fire. You are quite good at handling things. By doing this he gained both face and substance. What a good move, killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Feng laughed. Brother Xiong, right? I came to your bar to spend money, and your little sister tried to sell me some wine. I refused, so she sent someone to cause trouble for me. It doesn't seem reasonable to ask me to pay compensation now. Brother Xiong smiled and said, Brother, what I said is very reasonable. If you agree, I will pay for tonight's consumption. If you don't agree, you can walk out of here now. This is a blatant threat. However, he was not panicked, but smiled slightly. I will pay for the wine. As for the rest, I'll do as you say. Then he put the phone on the table into his pocket and turned to leave. At this moment, several of Xiong Jun's men suddenly stepped forward and blocked Yi Feng's way. They were all tall, with grim faces and threatening looks in their eyes. Obviously, they did not intend to let Yi Feng leave easily. Chapter 15 Battle. Seeing this, the man with the scar smiled triumphantly. He knew that Brother Xiong would not let him go. Yi Feng lit a cigarette. Take a slow breath. I hate being threatened the most in my life. His boss threatened him that if he didn't want to do this job, he could just leave. Yi Feng really refused to do it. Wang Shufeng threatened him that she would teach him a lesson. Yi Feng countered the moves. The yellow-haired guy who bullied Ni Xiaoqian. Yi Feng is no longer afraid. Including Wen Wen, a bean and the man with the scar. Brother Xiong, what does this mean? Xiong Jun took a deep breath. Is this kid stupid? Or drank too much? Dare to go against yourself. Brother, you are really obedient. You do whatever I say. Of course, good citizen. Xiong Jun sneered. Since you are obedient, then listen to everything I say. Yi Feng smiled. There are different types of listening. Some words are listenable, and some are not. A cold light suddenly flashed in Xiong Jun's eyes. Staring at Yi Feng. It makes people shudder. Yi Feng knew that the other party was not easy to deal with. It takes some skills to manage such a big bar. Now that you are here, make yourself comfortable. Yi Feng knew that today he had to either pay compensation and apologize or act like a grandson. Or fight them to the end. Anyway, I've already had fights with several people today. I don't mind fighting with him. Suddenly, Xiong Jun gave a look and the strong security guards behind him pounced towards Yi Feng like hungry wolves. These tall and strong security guards all had fierce looks on their faces and ferocious eyes. They were like a group of hungry wolves, seemingly able to tear Yi Feng into pieces at any time. Faced with such a fierce attack, Yi Feng couldn't help but feel a chill. Today, we have experienced many fierce battles. But at this time he clearly felt that his physical strength had begun to gradually decline. In addition, these security guards are extremely powerful, and every attack is very fierce. This made Yi Feng a little difficult to resist. Yi Feng's face and back were hit hard one after another, causing unbearable pain. He struggled hard to fight back, but the opponent was outnumbered and their attack was fierce, so he was always at a disadvantage. However, even in the face of such difficulties, Yi Feng still gritted his teeth, persisted tenaciously, and tried to find an opportunity to break through the siege. Brother Xiong saw this situation. This kid is not only good at fighting, but also very capable at carrying. After all, his men are not vegetarians, each of them is a tough guy. However, the man in front of him was able to withstand their attacks and even injured a few. That's what makes him so arrogant. Brother Xiong took action. He punched Yi Feng hard, and then kicked him. Yi Feng fell heavily to the ground. Brother Xiong squatted in front of Yi Feng. Boy, you were given the honor to be shameless. Now you have lost all your dignity. Now you have injured several of my brothers. Tell me, how are you going to pay me back? Oh shit. Each one is darker than the other. Pay. What compensation can I get? I didn't even have 2,000 yuan on me. Even if he had money, Yi Feng would not compensate. Yi Feng looked at Brother Xiong firmly. I don't have money, but I have my life. Even if I had money, I wouldn't compensate. Brother Xiong was angry. No one has ever dared to talk to me like this. You're looking for death, he said as he raised his fist and was about to hit him hard. The onlookers were all frightened and hid away. Stop. Ni Xiaoqian's voice came. The words fell. Ni Xiaoqian has already come in front of Yi Feng. Yi Feng, are you okay? Ni Xiaoqian asked with concern. Then he helped Yi Feng up and sat him on the sofa to rest. Yi Feng said it was okay. What is going on? Ni Xiaoqian asked anxiously. Then, Yi Feng told Ni Xiaoqian the whole story. After Yi Feng finished speaking, he told Ni Xiaoqian to leave quickly, saying that he could handle the situation here. Ni Xiaoqian asked Yifeng to have a good rest and leave the things here to her. Brother Xiong looked Ni Xiaoqian up and down with a lewd smile on his face. Beauty, be ready to be a hero and save the handsome guy. Then he started laughing. His younger brothers also started laughing. Ni Xiaoqian was not in a hurry. Light up a woman's cigarette. Pumping slowly. Beautiful lady, I'd like to invite you to have a drink. I wonder if you would appreciate it. If you do, today's matter will be forgotten. Really? Ni Xiaoqian smiled charmingly. Here, my brother Xiong keeps his word. Seeing this, Yifeng knew that brother Xiong had bad intentions. He signaled Ni Xiaoqian not to meddle in other people's business. Go quickly. Brother Xiong saw this and said, fuck, you're lucky, there's a beauty standing up for you, and you're still showing off. Yifeng stood up with difficulty. Fight if you can. Brother Xiong burst into laughter. Then he said to Ni Xiaoqian. Beauty, your friend seems unconvinced. How about we change seats? No, just here. Yifeng still wanted to stop it. He didn't want Ni Xiaoqian to be bullied. Ni Xiaoqian told Yifeng to stop talking and go wash his face and take a rest. Yifeng naturally refused to leave. Ni Xiaoqian insisted on letting Yifeng go, and even asked Brother Xiong's younger brothers to drag Yifeng away. Brother Xiong said, now that he is gone, how do we settle this account? This chapter is not finished yet, please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. Ni Xiaoqian smiled coquettishly. Brother Xiong, I'm already here, what are you still worried about? If you don't have this much tolerance, then there's nothing to talk about. Brother Xiong laughed cheerfully. Then he arranged for someone to drag Yifeng out. At this time, Ni Xiaoqian called them. Brother Xiong, tell your men not to make things difficult. Brother Xiong said generously that it was no problem. Then he told his younger brother to take him to the lounge on the second floor. The younger brother responded and took Yifeng away. Beauty, what would you like to drink? Brother Xiong said. Just drink the most expensive wine in the bar. Brother Xiong laughed. Are you kidding me? Ni Xiaoqian crossed her legs, took a puff of cigarette elegantly, blew out a beautiful smoke ring, and raised a contemptuous smile at the corner of her mouth. Yes, I am just teasing you. Brother Xiong's face suddenly turned gloomy, and a hint of ferocity flashed in his eyes. He slammed his fist on the table with great force, causing a loud bang. Everyone around was shocked. Ni Xiaoqian was not in a hurry. Smoking slowly. Beauty, you are really brave. You jumped on my head. But it doesn't matter, I'll let my brother accompany you to have fun tonight. As soon as he finished speaking, Brother Xiong shouted, brothers, take this woman to the second floor. We will have some fun with her today. The men behind him immediately showed delight on their faces, with greed flashing in their eyes, like hungry wolves. They were about to take her to the second floor by force. Ni Xiaoqian remained calm. She raised her chin slightly and said coldly, take your dirty hands away. I can walk by myself. When Brother Xiong's men heard this, they were stunned at first, and then they all burst into laughter. One of the men even shouted arrogantly, wow, this girl has quite a personality. But now that we are here, you have no say. As he said this, he reached out to grab Ni Xiaoqian's arm. Chapter 16, Big Trouble. Ni Xiaoqian's eyes turned cold, and she quickly dodged the other person's hand and kicked the man in the stomach. The man cried out in pain, holding his stomach, and took a few steps back. Brother Xiong was furious when he saw Ni Xiaoqian dare to fight back. He widened his eyes and yelled, you bitch, you dare to hit my people. Are you tired of living? Ni Xiaoqian smiled slightly, with a hint of disdain in her eyes. Brother Xiong, you'd better not mess with me, otherwise you will suffer the consequences. Groove. Come on, take this woman to the second floor. Brother Xiong roared. Several men rushed forward aggressively. Just then, there was a sudden commotion among the crowd. The onlookers made way. It's the bar owner Cai Jianbin. Just now, Ni Xiaoqian sent a message to Cai Jianbin, saying that she was forced to drink with him in his bar by the security captain. At this time, Cai Jianbin was studying the structure with a beautiful girl in the rest area on the third floor. After receiving Ni Xiaoqian's message, he did not dare to delay for a moment and quickly climbed up from the girl's body. Cai Jianbin has the contact information of important people in his mobile phone, and when there is a call or message, there will be a ringtone reminder. The girl put her arms around Cai Jian's neck and asked coquettishly what was going on and why he was in such a hurry. Couldn't he just finish the job first and then leave? Cai Jian then pushed him away angrily and said, "Get out of the way." He rushed to the first floor without even having time to put on his pants. Halfway through the journey, he was so angry that he cursed. "I have to chop Xiong to pieces." He walked up quickly, and without saying a word, he raised his hand and slapped Brother Xiong twice. The bar was noisy though. But the crisp sound of slapping echoed in the air. Brother Xiong was completely stunned by this sudden action. His eyes widened, with an expression of astonishment and confusion on his face. He never thought that he would be beaten, and it was a slap in the face by the bar owner. He covered his face and looked at Cai Jianbin innocently, as if he wanted to get to the bottom of things. Because ever since Brother Xiong took over as the bar security chief, the boss has always valued him very much. In such a large bar, only one person is responsible for security. Similar situations often occur, and the boss always gives his full support. I even delegated my authority, saying that whoever caused trouble in the bar would be beaten to death. He is responsible if something goes wrong. But what happened today? You're out of your mind. Cai Jianbin's eyes were wide open with flames of anger flashing in them. Obviously, he was very dissatisfied with Xiong's behavior, and could even be said to be extremely angry. "Boss, what's going on?" Xiong asked innocently. At this moment, he no longer had the arrogance he had before, and his face was filled with pain. Like a little lamb to be slaughtered. At this moment, he gradually came to his senses and realized that he might have offended someone he shouldn't have offended. This woman was by no means an ordinary person. Her identity and background seemed far beyond his imagination. "Kneel down quickly and apologize to Sister Ni, hurry up," Cai Jianbing said angrily. Xiong didn't dare to disobey and knelt down directly. Then kept apologizing. Cai Jianbin smiled and said, "Sister Ni, this kid is blind and doesn't know what a great man should be. I'm really sorry for what happened today. Please forgive me." Ni Xiaoqian glanced at Cai Jianbin coldly. Although, Ni Xiaoqian was very angry with this so-called brother bear. But Cai Jianbin's behavior made Ni Xiaoqian very unhappy. There are so many people here. Cai Jianbin, this idiot, is only bringing himself into public opinion by doing this. "Stand up," said Ni Xiaoqian. Xiong didn't dare to stand up at all and kept apologizing. "Sister Ni, make him kneel down." As he said that, he went up and kicked him. "Kneel down, you haven't eaten yet." Xiong straightened up immediately. "I said stand up." Cai Jianbin immediately understood what he meant. Let Xiong stand up quickly. Xiong was already frightened at this time. "How dare I stand up?" Cai Jianbin kicked Xiong again. "I told you to stand up, hurry up. You're deaf." Xiong then quickly stood up and hung his head. Cai Jianbin smiled innocently and said, "Sister Ni, I'm really sorry about what happened today. It was my poor management that caused this incident. I apologize, and I hope you will be magnanimous and forgive him for this one time." Ni Xiaoqian took a sip of brandy. Said coldly, "Ask him what's going on." Cai Jianbin turned around and asked Xiong what was going on. Xiong told the whole story in trembling voice. "Fuck, damn it, how many times have I told you that customers are our gods of wealth, but you ignored all my words, are you crazy?" After saying that, he walked up and slapped him on the forehead. "How many times have I told you to be service-minded and be polite to customers? You've worked for nothing all these years." After saying that, there was another slap. Cai Jianbin is very strong. Xiong was in so much pain that he almost cried. At the same time, he kept apologizing. Ni Xiaoqian watched Cai Jianbin's performance and didn't know how much they hated him. After Cai Jianbin finished teaching Ni Xiaoqian a lesson, he smiled innocently at her. "From now on, Sister Ni, all your purchases will be free when you come to my place. We will compensate your friend with all our strength." Ni Xiaoqian didn't say anything and just drank by herself. Cai Jianbin thought, this shows dissatisfaction with the compensation. "Sister Ni, I will give you another 300,000 yuan as compensation. Please be magnanimous. I am really sorry to have disturbed your fun today." Ni Xiaoqian drank the wine in the glass and slowly put it down. My friend, he is on the second floor. Yes, yes, sister I know what to do. Ni Xiaoqian stood up, said nothing, and went straight to the second floor. Cai Jianbin wanted to follow, but Ni Xiaoqian made a gesture and Cai Jianbin didn't dare to follow. Ni Xiaoqian is gone. Cai Jianbin breathed a sigh of relief. He looked at our Xiong who was standing aside with his head down, kicked him, and smashed it on the head with a beer bottle. Damn it, you've ruined my plan. If Miss Ni is still unhappy, you can die. It won't be too much. Our Xiong was completely stunned. The brain has blossomed. Cai Jianbin roared, take this bastard away. Our Xiong's younger brother quickly helped our Xiong away. Cai Jianbin lit a cigarette and smoked it fiercely. If today's matter is not handled properly, it will be difficult to survive in the local area in the future. So he quickly called Tan Jun. Cai Jianbin knew that Tan Jun and Ni Xiaoqian had a close relationship. He humbly told Tan Jun the whole story. I hope Mr. Tan can help him. As long as Sister Ni is not angry, he is willing to do anything. After listening to this, Tan Jun said, I understand, and hung up the phone. After hanging up the phone, Tan Jun told the financial director to withdraw 500,000 yuan immediately. Chapter 17 Sincerity. The financial director said that all banks are closed now, so where can we get 500,000 yuan in cash? Cai Jianbin said angrily, if you can't get it, don't come to work tomorrow. After saying that, he hung up the phone angrily. The reason why Tan Jun increased the amount from 300,000 to 500,000. I just feel that Ni Xiaoqian must have a very good relationship with his friends. Otherwise I wouldn't stand up for him. The amount increased to 500,000, and I made my attitude clear first. Be sincere and humble. Second floor lounge. Feng stood in front of the window, smoking a cigarette in his hand. As the fog swirled, his thoughts also drifted with it. The scene I just saw kept appearing in my mind. My mind is full of doubts. Just now, two of Brother Xiong's men helped Feng into the lounge on the second floor. In fact, Feng didn't want to abandon Ni Xiaoqian. But he was too tired and injured all over. Then I thought that Brother Xiong would not attack Ni Xiaoqian. After all, she is a woman. Who knew that as soon as they entered the lounge, they launched a fierce attack on Feng. This made him realize that they were just a delaying tactic. Faced with two hungry wolves, Feng fought with all his might and finally succeeded in driving them away. However, what he was concerned about at this moment was Ni Xiaoqian's safety. After all, she was still downstairs alone. How could a weak woman like her deal with Brother Xiong? And Brother Xiong is a person who goes back on his words. You just said to take good care of yourself. But he was cruel to himself behind his back. He was worried that she might be in danger, so he rushed to the meeting room without hesitation. When he went downstairs, he was shocked by the scene before him. A man was standing in front of Ni Xiaoqian respectfully. Ni Xiaoqian was drinking leisurely. Our Xiong stood beside the man with his head hung. This man must have a higher status than Brother Xiong. Feng stopped. In this case, she has already taken care of everything. Feng couldn't help but fall into deep thought. Who is this woman? It's amazing that someone like Brother Xiong can be so respectful to her. Even people of higher status than Brother Xiong were still respectful to him. This woman is not simple. At this moment, the door was suddenly pushed open. After hearing their voice, Feng turned around and saw that the person who walked in was Ni Xiaoqian. Ni Xiaoqian walked quickly to his side. She asked with concern and worry in her eyes. Feng, how do you feel now? Are you feeling better? Feng looked at her nervous expression, and to be honest, he couldn't help but feel a little warm in his heart. He smiled softly, don't worry, I'm fine. But I saw your face is very swollen just now, do you want to go to the hospital for a checkup? No, I just applied ice and it feels better now. Really don't need to go to the hospital for a checkup. Really. You can tell by looking at my condition. Ni Xiaoqian breathed a sigh of relief. These people are too cruel. As she spoke, she walked forward to check Feng's cheek, her eyes filled with heartache. This came out of the blue. This made Feng a little overwhelmed. I stepped back instinctively. Ni Xiaoqian also realized it. No more checking. I'm glad you're okay. I just called a friend of mine, and that friend of mine knows the boss here. I told them about your situation, and the boss punished that bare brother. He also wants to compensate you. Yifeng felt that even though Ni Xiaoqian was a very capable friend, she could help her with everything. However, Ni Xiaoqian's powerful aura just now made the bar owner and brother Xiong very respectful. This is not something that ordinary people can do. What's wrong? Ni Xiaoqian asked. Yifeng smiled and said, nothing. Yifeng felt that even if Ni Xiaoqian was very powerful, what did it have to do with him? He felt that he was overthinking. Ms. Ni, the matter has been resolved. It's getting late, so I want to go back. Yifeng said. Okay, I'll take you back. No, I'll take a taxi back. No, I'm still a little worried. Ni Xiaoqian said firmly. If it weren't for you, I don't know what I would have done with what happened today. I must send you back. Facing Ni Xiaoqian's firm answer. Yifeng's heart is warm. It's a wonderful feeling to be cared for. Just as I was about to go out, the door was pushed open. It's Cai Jianbing. He held a bag in his hand. There was 500,000 cash in it. He walked up to Ni Xiaoqian with a silly smile. When Ni Xiaoqian saw his expression, she knew that he was trying to flatter her again. She was worried that Yifeng would notice Cai Jianbing's respectful attitude. Before Cai Jianbing could speak, Ni Xiaoqian said to Cai Jianbing, Boss Cai, your men beat my friend like this, you have to pay heavy compensation. Otherwise, we will call the police. Cai Jianbing was stunned and didn't understand what Ni Xiaoqian meant. Ni Xiaoqian winked at Cai Jianbing. Cai Jianbing is also a smart man and he understood it immediately. Brother, I'm really sorry to have wronged you. Your consumption here shows your trust in us. I have already taught that bastard Ashiong a lesson. As for you, you should be magnanimous and not call the police. It would be troublesome if we called the police. Here is a little gift from us to make it up to you. My dear, there is more to this chapter. Please click on the next page to continue reading. It's even more exciting later. After saying that, he handed the bag to Yifeng. Yifeng did not refuse, as they were the ones causing trouble today. Compensation is also due. Thank you, boss. Little brother, this is all right. From now on, if you come to our bar to spend money, we will give you free meals. Come often. The boss is so humble because he is doing this for Ni Xiao's sake. Yifeng smiled and did not respond to his boss's words. He didn't want to come to this kind of place a second time. You too, we have prepared a car for you. I will take you wherever you want to go. No need, boss, let's take a taxi, said Ni Xiaoqian. Cai Jianbing did not insist either. Because he does whatever Ni Xiaoqian says. Cai Jianbing personally sent Yifeng and Ni Xiaoqian to the door of the bar. While waiting for the bus to pass, Ni Xiaoqian said to Cai Jianbing, Boss, we can just wait here for the bus, you go and get busy. Cai Jianbing nodded, then turned to look at Yifeng, and said with a guilty look on his face, Little brother, I'm really sorry for making you suffer today. On behalf of the company, I would like to express my sincerest apologies to you and ask for your forgiveness. Yifeng glanced at Cai Jianbing and didn't say anything. He just smiled faintly as a response. Because after tonight, he might never have any contact with this person again. So, he didn't want to waste too much time and energy worrying about these things. Besides, he didn't do this just because he saw himself being beaten, he did it entirely for Ni Xiaoqian's sake. People like them who run bars are all very capable. Otherwise, why would Brother Xiong be so arrogant? Chapter 18, Anger. Cai Jianbing returned to the office with a gloomy face. Xiong, with gauze wrapped around his head, led several of his men and stood respectfully in Cai Jianbing's office. Xiong's men were trembling with fear and lowered their heads, not daring to look at Cai Jianbing. Among these people, Abin is also on the list. Abin's face was covered with wounds. Just now, Xiong gave him a severe lesson. He attributed what happened just now to Abin. If this kid hadn't come to find me, this would never have happened. Cai Jianbing looked at them grimly. Then he lit a cigarette and took a deep puff. If it weren't for these bastards. Will I offend Ni Xiaoqian? Groove. Anger is building. Cai Jianbing slapped each one hard. After the beating, he roared in rage, if this matter can be settled today, it would be fine. If not, you can prepare to die. His voice was full of anger and majesty. Then, Cai Jianbin turned his gaze to Xiong and roared. Have you found Wen, the wine cellar? Xiong was panicking and replied tremblingly, Boss, I've added more people, but I haven't found it yet. Groove. Add more manpower and we must find her. Yes, boss. Damn it, it's all because of this bitch. If it weren't for her, this wouldn't have happened today. No matter what, I must find a woman. She must compensate for my losses. Cai Jianbin was furious. Cai Jianbin walked up to Abin again. Abin's legs were shaking with fear. He knew Mr. Cai's temper. He regrets it. When Wen found him today, he was having supper with a group of friends. I didn't want to go. He wants to drink with his brothers. But Wen is under his protection. Plus a bunch of brothers here. Abin went over. I thought it was a small matter. I didn't expect to get into so much trouble. He really messed up the world. Having caused so much trouble today, he is definitely dead. Even Xiong was beaten like pighead. What about yourself? Cai Jianbin looked at Abin coldly with a gloomy face. Abin lowered his head and dared not look at Cai Jianbin. Suddenly, Cai Jianbin put his hands on Abin's shoulders. Abin was completely frightened. He felt his mind go blank. Adrenaline rush. Suddenly I felt a warmth coming through my body. Then he was brought back to reality. Boss, I was wrong. I will never dare to do it again. Abin said timidly. Abin, don't be nervous. Wen is your friend, and you must know where she is hiding. As long as you find Wen, this matter will have nothing to do with you. Hearing such conditions, Abin couldn't help but feel happy and nodded repeatedly without hesitation. He knew very well that if Wen was really found, she would be doomed. But what does this have to do with me? If she hadn't come to me for help, how could she have ended up like this? Thinking of this, Abin even felt a little aggrieved. So, Abin made the promise to Cai Jianbin without hesitation. Boss, don't worry, I will definitely help you find Wen. Cai Jianbin responded coldly. Okay, but remember, don't try to run away. Abin quickly said seriously, Boss, even if you give me 100 guts, I still wouldn't dare to do that. After hearing this, Cai Jianbin nodded with satisfaction and told Abin that there were only 3 days. If Wen still cannot be found by then all of Wen's problems will be blamed on Abin. Abin turned pale with fright. He swore in his heart that he must find that bitch Wen. You can go now. Cai Jianbin said coldly. Abin kept saying thank you and then ran away quickly. After Abin left, everyone except Xiong was also driven away by Cai Jianbin. Xiong, is your head okay? Cai Jianbin said. Boss Cai, it's okay. I'm still strong enough. It's no problem if you give me 10 more. Cai Jianbin smiled. I'm sorry for wronging you today. But I have no choice. Sister and I cannot be offended. Boss Cai, I've caused you trouble. What happened today will happen again and again. No, said Cai Jianbin. Xiong was a little confused. We can't just ignore it because we're afraid of offending people. Are you afraid of those random people causing trouble? You have to be as ruthless as before. However, you have to choose the dish carefully and be more careful. Yes, Mr. Cai, I remember it. Cai Jianbin walked to the window and lit a cigarette. Xiong, how is our business lately? Cai Jianbin secretly sold some contraband in the bar. I have made a lot of money over the years. However, he only asked how much money was earned each month. Xiong is fully responsible for everything from purchasing, packaging, selling to checkout. Boss Cai, business has been bad these past few months. There are people selling smuggled goods out there, and we can't control that. Cai Jianbin nodded. Take a puff of cigarette. Ask around here and see who is selling these things. Yes, Mr. Cai, I understand. Okay, go to the finance department tomorrow. I've told them that the bonus is 50,000 yuan as compensation for you today. Xiong quickly said no. What happened today was caused by me, so I deserve to be punished. This chapter is not finished yet, please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. Cai Jianbin smiled. 3 years ago. Xiong is just a security guard in a bar. Once, several drunk guests caused trouble in the bar. Xiong stepped forward fearlessly and subdued the troublemakers alone. On weekdays, some difficult to deal with disputes often occur in the bar, but as long as Xiong takes action, the problem can always be resolved quickly. All this stems from his bold and ruthless character. Not only that, Xiong also possesses outstanding leadership skills. Under his strict management, the team he leads is disciplined and orderly. In comparison, the management level of other team leaders pales in comparison. As time went by, Xiong's outstanding performance attracted the attention of bar owner Cai Jianbin. Abin's quick success made the other teams very jealous. They teamed up to deliberately make things difficult for Xiong. But they underestimated Xiong. Xiong told Cai Jianbin directly about their actions with reason and evidence. Cai Jianbin was very annoyed when he heard this. He hates infighting the most. They were fired directly. Those people were not convinced and started to make trouble for Xiong. They were no match for Xiong and he chased them away in no time. After a period of observation and testing, Cai Jianbin became more and more impressed with Xiong, and finally decided to appoint him as the security chief of the bar. From then on, Xiong began to be responsible for the security of the bar and became one of Cai Jianbin's most trusted confidants. Go and get it. You've worked hard today, Cai Jianbin continued. Xiong knows Cai Jianbin. No one dared to refuse what he said. Yes, Mr. Cai. At the same time, Xiong was also deeply moved by Mr. Cai's behavior. Make him more loyal to Mr. Cai. After Xiong left, Cai Jianbin came to his box on the 3rd floor. The girl from before is still here. When you are full of anger, the most important thing is to relieve it. Chapter 19. This is a hot potato. When Abin walked out of Cai Jianbin's office. My legs are weak. His face is pale. He looked down at his pants and found a large area of them wet. Just now in Dai Jianbin's office, my adrenaline was rushing and I felt a sense of excitement. This was caused by fear. Thinking of the scene just now, Abin still feels scared. He knew that he was in big trouble this time. If he couldn't find Wenwen as soon as possible, the consequences would be disastrous. So he immediately took out his cell phone and dialed Wenwen's number, but a cold notification tone came out. The user you dialed has turned off the phone. Please try again later. Abin was unwilling to give up, so he called Wenwen's other phone, but it was also turned off. Wenwen's phone was turned off, and she was obviously so scared that she hid herself. Abin called a few sisters who were familiar with Wenwen, and they all said that Wenwen did not contact them tonight. Abin was a little panicked. I knew Wenwen must be hiding or had already run away. As long as Wenwen is in this city, he will find a way to find her. If he hides away in another place, he will be helpless. The country is so big, where can I find it? Abin called a younger brother. He told his younger brother several places that Wenwen often went to and gave a death order. You must find Wenwen's whereabouts. If you can't find her, don't come back. After hanging up the phone, Abin thought for a long time and analyzed the current situation. There is only one path at the moment. Just like Wenwen, run quickly. He doesn't want to stay and be a scapegoat. However, Cai Jianbin warned Abin not to even think about running away. But Abin is not stupid. Afterwards, Abin went to the accommodation, packed up his things, and took an online taxi to the next city. Abin knew that Wenwen would definitely be lost. Mr. Cai said that if Wenwen couldn't be found, he would bear all the responsibility. Abin is not a fool. He alone can't bear it. If Wenwen was found, he came back. Unable to find it, he went into hiding. At worst, I can leave here and start over in another city. Abin felt that he was badly hurt by that damn girl Wenwen this time. If it weren't for her, he wouldn't be like this. Groove. Abin wished he could tear Wenwen into pieces. If I run away and don't come back, all my efforts here over the years will be in vain. Feng and Xiaochen both live in the same community. When they arrived at the community, Feng originally planned to go home alone. He didn't want Xiaochen to know that he was living with Ansu now. A man always has to have some face. However, Xiaochen insisted on sending Feng back home. Otherwise she would feel uneasy. Feng felt helpless, but finally had to tell her that he was now living in Ansu's massage parlor and he didn't want to go back to his home. Xiaochen didn't ask why. I can guess what it means. Okay, I'm relieved now that you're here. But if you feel unwell, go to the hospital right away, okay? Xiaoqian looked at him gently, her eyes full of concern. Got it. Thank you. Yifeng nodded with a smile, feeling warm in his heart. Bye. Xiaoqian smiled, waved, and turned to leave. Yifeng suddenly shouted loudly, "Send a message when you get home." Hearing this, Xiaoqian stopped, turned around, and a bright smile appeared on her face. She held out her hand, gave an okay sign, and winked mischievously. Yifeng looked at her cute appearance. She couldn't help but think of the bar owner and brother Xiong standing respectfully in front of her just now. Yifeng smiled, lit a cigarette and walked into the store. Although it was already 11 o'clock in the evening, there were still a few customers in the store. Otherwise, Ansu would have bought a house and a car within a few years of working in this field. Yifeng went upstairs and met Ansu, who was coming downstairs. Ansu saw that Yifeng smelled of alcohol and his face was swollen. Yifeng, what happened? Did you have a conflict with anyone? Ansu asked anxiously. It's okay, I just fell accidentally. Did you fall? Ansu asked puzzledly. Yes, I drank a little too much today. It's okay, Ansu, don't worry. I told you to drink less today, but you drank so much. Are you really okay? Yifeng smiled and said, It's really okay. Okay, go back to your room first. I'll make you some hangover tea. Yifeng waved his hand quickly and said, No, this is too troublesome. Ansu said disapprovingly, What's the trouble? Several drunk customers came to the store today, so I have to make some honey tea for them. I'll make some for you as well, so you can have some too. Ansu said so. It would be really unkind of Yifeng to refuse again. Thank you, Ansu. Ansu smiled and said, You little brat, don't drink so much in the future. It's just a woman, isn't it? I have many single rich ladies. I'll introduce them to you someday. Yifeng laughed. Politely declined. The female guests here are all rich people. But Yifeng doesn't have the ability to deal with them. So he quickly found an excuse to run away. Ansu looked at Yifeng's back and a sweet smile appeared on her face. She had a special liking for this young man. After returning to the room, Yifeng took a shower to wash away his fatigue and sweat. However, I felt pain in several places all over my body. He secretly felt lucky. If he didn't have some skills left, he would have been beaten even worse this time. This group of people are really cruel. After taking a shower, Yifeng wore a pair of loose shorts, showing his muscular body. He walked to the window, lit a cigarette and took a few deep puffs. He remembered the bag the bar owner had given him. So he walked to the coffee table and opened it. When he saw what was in the bag, there was actually a small bundle of banknotes inside. He took it out and counted it carefully, and found that there were exactly 500,000. I originally thought that the bar owner just gave me a small gift, but I didn't expect it to be such a large sum of money. Yifeng sat on the sofa, looking at the 500,000 on the coffee table. Lost in thought. As the owner of a bar, he has both wealth and resources. That's absolutely possible. People in their line of work have to make friends in the underworld. He directly took out 500,000 as compensation for himself. Doesn't this seem very suspicious? Obviously this is not the case that they realized their mistakes. But it was for Xiaoqian's sake. This made Yifeng even more interested in Xiaoqian's identity. Could Xiaoqian be the big sister? Or which big brother's woman is she? Yifeng took a deep puff of the cigarette and exhaled slowly. He can't take this money. He felt that the money was a hot potato. It will bring trouble to yourself. Chapter 20, Become a Disciple. At this time, there was a knock on the door. Yifeng, open the door. A gentle voice came from Ansu. Ansu is already in her 30s. But there is no sign of aging at all. She spoke very gently. It makes people feel very comfortable listening to it. If we had met for the first time, we would have thought she was a girl in her 20s. Yifeng was pulled back to reality and quickly stood up and walked towards the door. After opening the door, Ansu was standing at the door with a bowl of honey water in her hand and a gentle smile on her face. Yifeng had just finished taking a shower, with wet hair, and he exuded a unique masculine charm. And he was only wearing a pair of large shorts. Ansu's eyes unconsciously fell on his muscular upper body, and she was a little dazed for a moment. She looked at Yifeng's strong chest and well-defined abdominal muscles, and couldn't help but feel an inexplicable throbbing in her heart. Yifeng has an irresistible attraction to Ansu. At this moment, Yifeng suddenly came to his senses and realized that it was inappropriate for his upper body to be barefoot. He quickly smiled awkwardly and said, "Sorry, Ansu, I just finished taking a shower." As he said that, he quickly took out a short-sleeved shirt from the closet and put it on. Ansu smiled. "I'm nervous. I've seen everything." As she said that, she walked to the sofa and sat down. "Come, the honey water is ready. Drink it quickly." As she said that, she handed the bowl in her hand to Yifeng. Yifeng took the bowl. "Excuse me, Ansu." Ansu smiled slightly. "It's not a bother, just by the way." Yifeng was a little thirsty and drank in big gulps. "Slow down, no one is trying to steal it from you. We still have a lot over there." Yifeng finished drinking and smiled. "I'm thirsty." "I'll get you some more," said Ansu. Yifeng quickly refused. He doesn't want to be in trouble again. "That's enough, Ansu. I've made some tea over there, too." Ansu smiled, but looked a little disappointed. Yifeng poured a cup of tea for Ansu. He brought some snacks and placed them in front of Ansu. After chatting for a while, Ansu asked Yifeng what his plans for the future were. Yifeng smiled and said, "Let's just get some food from Ansu first." Ansu said, "If you want to make a living, your cooking skills are not enough. You are lucky to meet someone as easy to talk to as Miss Ni. If you meet a difficult customer, it will be troublesome. If you want to stay in this industry, you need to have solid skills." After hearing this, Yifeng nodded thoughtfully. Yifeng also planned to enter this field because it is really profitable. It really is true. The easiest thing to earn is money from children and women. Ansu, you are right. Some industries may seem simple, but if you want to be good at them and make them strong, you still have to work hard. Have you decided to do this? Yifeng nodded and said, "We have plans in this regard at the moment." After the voice fell, Yifeng continued, "I can't always focus on my job. I need to broaden my horizons. There is no distinction between cheap and noble in any industry. As long as I can make money honestly, it's fine." Ansu laughed. "Yifeng, is it because of the things between you and your spouse that you understand more clearly?" Yifeng smiled and said, "If a man has no money, let alone a wife, sometimes even his parents will look down on him." "Yifeng, you are only half right. You just haven't met a good woman yet." Yifeng smiled, knowing that Ansu was just trying to save his face. In fact, this is the truth. Yifeng also thought that Wang Chufeng was a good woman and worthy of his lifetime cherishment. But in the end it was all in vain. "Yifeng, I have taught many apprentices, but I found that you have the highest comprehension. That day I just taught you casually, and you mastered the key points. It means you have a strong learning ability and can understand things quickly." After she finished speaking, Ansu picked up the teacup on the table and took a sip. "You are intelligent, a boy, and handsome. You will definitely make a lot of money in this line of work. Don't worry." After saying that, Ansu gently put down the teacup again. At this time, Yifeng filled the teacup in front of Ansu with water, then handed it to her with both hands and said with a smile, "Ansu, this cup of tea will be your apprenticeship tea." Ansu was stunned for a moment, then she couldn't help laughing. "Yifeng, you are too stingy. You are sending me, your master, away with just this cup of tea. I still need to think about it." Ansu raised the corners of her mouth. Yifeng knew that Ansu was joking with him. He smiled and said, "Don't think about it, just accept me as your apprentice." As she spoke, Ansu took the teacup and a satisfied smile appeared on her face. "Then I will call you Master Su from now on," Yifeng said with a smile. "I still like you to call me Ansu." Ansu smiled. "Okay, then I'll call you Ansu." As he said that, Yifeng transferred a red envelope of 2,000 yuan to Ansu on his mobile phone. Seeing this, Ansu asked Yifeng what he was doing. "I was just kidding you." Yifeng said, "Yes. Thanks to you, I can take a breath these days. Otherwise I don't know what to do." Ansu took a sip of tea and smiled. "What's the big deal? We are friends, shouldn't we help each other? Besides, I want to thank you. Since you came, the business volume has increased significantly in the past 2 days. Xiao Xiao can tell you that the payment in the past 2 days alone is hundreds of thousands. When Yifeng heard this, he thought it was a good idea. This business is really profitable. However, as Ansu said, without solid skills, it won't last long. Yifeng smiled and said, now that you said that, I have more confidence in doing this business. Ansu laughed. Yeah, then do your best in the future. Yifeng nodded. Chat for a while. Ansu said, it's still early, I will start teaching you formally from today. Yifeng agreed. Then, Ansu asked Yifeng to lie on the bed. Yifeng was a little confused. Ansu said, don't let your imagination run wild. I am letting you experience the comfort that massage brings. Only when you have truly experienced it yourself can you do well in this field. Yifeng smiled and quickly lay down on the bed. When Ansu's soft fingers touched Yifeng's back, Yifeng shuddered as if he had been electrocuted, and his whole body suddenly tensed up. It's that ticklish feeling. To be honest, this was Yifeng's first time experiencing a massage. Seeing Yifeng so nervous, Ansu couldn't help but laugh. She said softly, Yifeng, don't be nervous, relax. As she spoke, Ansu's fingers became more gentle, as if she was soothing a frightened animal. Slowly, Yifeng gradually let go of the tension and vigilance in his heart and began to slowly enjoy Ansu's massage. Ansu's technique is very skillful, and every movement is just right, making people feel extremely comfortable. Especially her warm hands, which seemed to have magical power, made Yifeng immersed in them and forget all his worries. At this moment, Yifeng suddenly felt a strong feeling surging in his body. This feeling became stronger and stronger, making Yifeng a little overwhelmed. He knew what this feeling was, but he didn't expect it to appear here. Chapter 21 Real Technology. Yifeng began to suspect that the massage might have triggered some abnormal reaction. He tried to control his emotions so that Ansu wouldn't notice that something was wrong with him. Otherwise it would be very embarrassing. However, the feeling became stronger and stronger, almost unbearable for him. Yifeng wanted to stop it. But I found that I couldn't come. I felt a little dizzy. Then the endless peak. That moment, Yifeng was a little flustered. Fortunately, his back was facing Ansu. Otherwise, it would be really embarrassing. Ansu noticed that Yifeng's body trembled. Then he found that Yifeng was now completely relaxed. Ansu's mouth corners raised. What a young man! Ansu patted Yifeng on the back. Yifeng, today's teaching task is completed. Yifeng sat up from the bed but refused to get out. Worried that Ansu might see something. Yifeng, how do you feel? Ansu said. Yifeng nodded and said, a teacher is a teacher. It's very comfortable. Now I feel relaxed and more energetic than before. Ansu smiled. Of course. I can tell from your expression. Yifeng felt nervous. Could it be that Ansu noticed my condition just now? Yifeng smiled to hide his embarrassment. Then he boasted about Ansu again. Yifeng, how much of the technique just now do you remember? Ansu asked. Yifeng has an extremely strong memory. It can be said that Yifeng basically remembered about 70 or 80% of Ansu's techniques just now. About 70 or 80. Yifeng said. Oh, really? Then I'll have to test you to see if you really remember it or if you're just saying it casually. Yifeng looked confused. Didn't you say you've already mastered 70% to 80% of it? Now let me test you. When you give me a massage later, I will be there to remind you of some details that are easy to overlook. Don't be nervous, just treat me as a test subject. If there is anything you don't do well, you can try again. But this is not the case when facing real guests. Yifeng felt that what Ansu said made sense. So he nodded to show his agreement. Then, Ansu climbed onto the bed and prepared to receive Yifeng's massage service. Ansu has a great figure, and Yifeng felt a little nervous about her plump back. I couldn't help but look at it twice more. What's wrong? Ansu turned her head and said. Yifeng said it was okay. Ansu smiled and said, are you stunned by my figure? Yifeng was a little embarrassed and was about to explain. Ansu interrupted. Yifeng, you are a normal man. It is normal for you to be happy when you see a beautiful woman. But we, the service providers, should treat our customers as works of art. Regardless of whether the woman is pretty or not, we should be calm and not have any distracting thoughts. This is the only way, understand? Yifeng nodded. Ansu lay down again. Yifeng took a deep breath and recalled Ansu's approach in his mind. When my fingers touched Ansu's smooth skin, I still felt nervous for a moment. Yifeng, don't worry, take your time. Ansu said. Okay. Yifeng tried hard to calm himself down. Slowly, I began to get into the mood. During the massage, Ansu would patiently explain and guide Yifeng wherever he did something wrong. Especially when Ansu turned over and faced Yifeng, Yifeng was still a little nervous. Ansu told Yifeng not to be nervous. Be sure to eliminate distracting thoughts and focus your mind. But, having said that. But in the face of such a beautiful sight, how is it possible to completely eliminate all distractions? If that's the case, then he's probably not a man. Under Ansu's patient explanation and guidance, Yifeng studied seriously and practiced over and over again. After 3 consecutive attempts, he was finally able to complete it from beginning to end. When he noticed that Ansu was completely relaxed, he knew he had mastered the technique. During the massage, Yifeng was keenly aware of Ansu's reaction. He heard her suddenly make a slight sound, and although the sound was very faint, he still captured the detail clearly. In addition, he felt Ansu's body tremble slightly. These subtle changes made Yifeng feel a strange feeling in his heart. He began to realize the deeper meaning behind it. He couldn't help but think that perhaps it was because of this unique service that Ansu's business was so prosperous. The experience just now also made him feel this uniqueness personally. Yifeng felt that as long as he learned all of Ansu's skills, he would have a place to stand on his own. Ansu sat up and stretched lazily. Yifeng, you are really a genius in this area. You can fully master it after just 1 teaching and a few attempts. The people under me are very stupid and they can't learn even after many times of teaching. Yifeng smiled and said, Ansu, thank you for the compliment. I still have a lot to learn from you. Ansu looked pleased and started to smile. Yifeng, you are too modest. At this rate, I will have nothing to teach you in 10 days. My dear, there is more to this chapter. Please click on the next page to continue reading. It's even more exciting later. Yifeng smiled and said, how can a disciple surpass his master? Ansu burst into laughter. Yifeng, I like to hear your flattery. You should flatter me more in the future, otherwise I won't teach you. Yifeng smiled and said, it's okay if you don't teach me. The move you just taught me, Ansu, will allow me to go out on my own. Ansu felt that Yifeng already understood what she meant. Ansu smiled coquettishly, her eyes becoming blurry. Yifeng, your ambition is too low. If that's the case, I won't teach you as my apprentice anymore. Yifeng quickly asked why. Ansu said that your ambitions are too low, so I won't teach you anymore. After saying that, Ansu laughed. Yifeng knew that Ansu was playing a joke on him. However, Yifeng knew it clearly in his heart. Ansu is really capable. It would be amazing if I could learn all of Ansu's skills. At this time, Yifeng put his hands on Ansu's shoulders. Ansu was stunned. What are you doing? I'm just flattering you. As he said this, he started to pinch Ansu's shoulders. Ansu felt that Yifeng's technique was quite good. Yifeng, who did you learn this skill of massaging shoulders from? I didn't teach you this. Self-taught. Yifeng said with a smile. Ansu smiled and said, bullshit, you are self-taught, tell me where you learned it. Ansu, you really taught yourself. Yifeng said with a smile. Ansu raised the corners of her mouth slightly, I don't believe it. Yifeng looked at her and couldn't help but feel that she had a unique charm. Chapter 22 Hint. Ansu, actually when I was in school I really liked to exercise. So my shoulders always feel sore and tired. Then I found some books on massage in the library and learned a little bit on my own. At first, I just gave myself a massage and then I found that it was quite effective. I started to massage my classmates and they all said it was very comfortable. Later, I met my wife, and she often complained of being tired, so I started to massage her. After doing this for a while, my skills became more and more sophisticated, and my techniques became better and better. Yifeng said with a smile. Hearing this, Ansu couldn't help laughing out loud. Har har, so that's how it is. So now all you have to do is help me pinch it, she asked jokingly. Yifeng also started laughing after hearing this. Naturally I understand what it means. Yifeng massaged Ansu's shoulders for a while before stopping. Ansu felt very comfortable and asked Yifeng to massage her tomorrow. Yifeng said there was no problem. Ansu stretched lazily. Then he lay down heavily. I'm so sleepy. I don't even want to get up, she said lazily. Yifeng smiled and said, Ansu, you're working too hard. There are almost no people who haven't left work at this time. He knew that Ansu worked very late every day. Ansu smiled helplessly, with a hint of bitterness in her eyes. What can we do? Life is like this and we have to face reality. My bastard husband owes a lot of money outside and now he has disappeared without a trace. I have to pay off this bastard's debt. I have to raise my son too. I really hope to find a good man who I can rely on. It would be nice if I could be a housewife instead of working so hard. Yifeng heard about it from Ansu. Back then, Ansu's life was prosperous. It is not something that ordinary people can compare to. He lives in a luxurious villa, with a nanny and a driver serving him. My son attends a high-end private school. The tuition fee for 1 year is more than 500,000 yuan. Her husband is a general contractor for construction projects, a true local boss. It is said that men become bad once they have money, and this statement is indeed true. Ansu said, I don't care if you eat and drink outside. It's okay for him to find women outside, she just turns a blind eye to it. These will never ruin the family. Ansu never expected that her husband would get addicted to gambling. At first, their winnings and losses were just tens of thousands of dollars, but later it gradually developed into bets of hundreds of thousands or even millions. As time went by, he got deeper and deeper into debt and owed a lot of debts. He not only borrowed money from banks, but also borrowed money from loan sharks. In the end, business went from bad to worse, and villas, cars, and dozens of storefronts were sold one after another. Even Ansu's private money was invested, but the debt was still not paid off. During that period, Ansu went straight from heaven to hell. Every day there are people coming to collect debts. It's okay if you're polite. You're welcome, those who swear are considered good people. Some people throw urine and feces. Ansu's husband is also willing to mend his ways, be a good person, and do good things. Ansu felt that as long as her husband quit gambling, with their resources, the debt of tens of millions could be paid off in a few years. However, what this gambler said was complete nonsense. A few days later, the traffic jam broke out again. This gambler has really lost his mind and is beyond redemption. What's even more abominable is that Ansu's husband actually suggested that she sleep with the loan shark to offset the $1 million debt. The aunt finally saw the true face of this man and decisively chose to break up and draw a clear line with this scumbag. Despite this, she still owed millions in debt. Rich ladies like Ansu know that they can't pay off their debts even if they work their entire lives. Only by doing business. When I had money, I often went to high-end beauty salons and massage parlors. She knew that the profits in this business were considerable. So, Ansu began to learn massage techniques. I followed several masters. Until an older sister saw that Ansu had talent in this area, she passed all her life skills to Ansu. Later, Ansu started her own business. Ansu, I believe in my ability. In a few years, we will be able to return to the old days. Yifeng said with a smile. Ansu laughed. I just like to listen to you talk. Ansu, I'm telling the truth. I really admire your fighting spirit. If it were someone else, they would have wilted a long time ago. Or just run away. And you are very responsible. Not only is the debt almost paid off, but business is also booming. Ansu laughed again. Yifeng, your mouth is smeared with honey. Yifeng smiled and said, I'm telling the truth, not flattering at all. Ansu was naturally happy that someone praised her. Ansu smiled and then yawned. It's getting late. I have to go back to bed. After saying that, Ansu stared at Yifeng. See, he didn't make any move. Then she said, pull me up. After saying that, she stretched out her hands. Yifeng smiled and reached out to pull Ansu. If this had happened in the past, Yifeng would definitely have been embarrassed. Now she has a much closer relationship with Ansu. My dear, there is more to this chapter. Please click on the next page to continue reading. It's even more exciting later. Just normal intimacy, of course. When he held those soft hands, I still felt a little nervous. At the same time, he noticed that Ansu was looking at him with a dazed look, which made him a little at a loss. Ansu sat up slowly, but when she got out of bed, she accidentally lost her balance and fell forward into Yifeng's arms. Like a frightened deer. Yifeng was startled and quickly reached out to hold her, trying to steady her body. Due to nervousness, Yifeng's movements were a little flustered and he couldn't fully control the situation for a while. Ansu sat down directly on the floor. Ansu laughed. Yifeng also laughed. This time, Ansu stood up by herself. Are you okay? Yifeng asked with concern. Yifeng, you look quite strong, how come you can't even support me? I'm not fat, am I? Ansu said with a smile. Yifeng smiled and said, I'm a little nervous. Yifeng is not a young boy, so how could he not know what Ansu did just now? However, Yifeng will not take advantage of others' misfortune. He's not that kind of person either. Do something for the sake of something. It's not that Yifeng is a gentleman. It just doesn't feel right. Ansu knew that nothing would happen tonight. However, Yifeng's actions made Ansu feel good about him again. Okay, it's getting late, I have to go back. There are still a few guests over there. Ansu said. Yifeng nodded, then quickly went to open the door. Bye. Ansu, Yifeng said with a smile on his face. Bye. Yifeng, go to bed early. Ansu waved to Yifeng gently. Yifeng nodded and closed the door. After the door was closed, Yifeng breathed a sigh of relief. He first walked quickly to the bathroom and quickly changed into a clean pair of pants. The experience just now made him feel extremely happy and excited. The feeling was simply indescribable. It was even more intoxicating than when he was with Wang Chufeng. The reason for this is that I was completely unprepared mentally, and this sudden surprise made it even more difficult to resist. This should be called an unexpected success. It is indeed unforgettable. After Yifeng tried it on Ansu, Ansu also showed the same state as herself. This means that you have succeeded. Yifeng didn't expect Ansu's skills to be so superb. I couldn't help but feel respect for Ansu. At the same time, I also understand why Ansu's business is so good. Especially those middle-aged wealthy women. The relationship between husband and wife is like that between brothers. I wouldn't do anything to let my other half down. So wouldn't it be better to go to Ansu's place to enjoy a massage and experience the true meaning of life? Yifeng thought that it would be great if he could learn all her skills. Wouldn't it be possible to achieve great things? Yifeng was a little excited. He lit a cigarette, then picked up a pen and wrote down the massage sequence step by step. Yifeng also recorded in detail the experience of each step. That way, he'll know in the future when to give guests a different experience. Then, Yifeng simulated it on the quilt. After finishing everything, Yifeng took another shower and prepared to rest. Suddenly I heard a noise downstairs. Listening carefully, it was Ansu's voice. Yifeng wondered if there was a guest causing trouble. I put on my clothes and ran downstairs. Come downstairs. I saw Ansu arguing fiercely with a man. The man looked ferocious, holding a wine bottle and looking very aggressive. Ansu's employees didn't dare to step forward to persuade her. They all took out their cell phones to record the scene. Seeing this, the man became furious. He raised the bottle in his hand and yelled at everyone. If you dare to take pictures, I will kill you today. As he said this, he was about to rush forward. Several female employees were frightened and fled the scene screaming. At this time, Ansu bravely stepped forward, stood in front of the employee and faced the man. She said firmly, Chen Guozhong, get out of here right now, or I will call the police. Chen Guozhong chuckled. Sun Qianqian, I've been looking for you so hard. I didn't expect you to be here. Yifeng thought he came to collect debts. We must step forward to stop it. At this time, Ansu said, Chen Guozhong, we have no relationship anymore. You can't get a penny from me even if you come here. It turns out that he is Ansu's man. Yifeng felt that it was not a good idea to rush forward rashly. Let's see how the situation goes. Chen Guozhong laughed. Sun Qianqian, when I was in my prime, you ate and drank the finest food. Now that I'm like this, you just want to ignore it, right? Chen Guozhong, you are so shameless to say that. You have ruined such a huge family business. And you still have the nerve to say that now. It's my family business, what does it have to do with you? I'm willing. Ansu knew that he was now a scoundrel. He found himself just wanting money. A few years ago, Ansu was like this in her previous city, always coming to ask for money. If you don't give it, threaten me. He even threatened his own son. Ansu also gave him hundreds of thousands of dollars gradually, thinking that he would not bother her. But a gambler is a gambler. All the oaths are false. Ansu knew that this wouldn't work. All the money I worked so hard to earn was taken away by him. So, he reluctantly gave up all the resources of the original city and moved to this city under an assumed name. I had lived in peace for 3 years and thought he wouldn't look for me again. I didn't expect that he still found this place. Sun Qianqian, don't think you can get away with it if you hide here. I'm telling you, if you don't take out 1 million today, you'll be in trouble. You're dreaming. Chen Guozhong, if you get a penny from me, I will take your surname. Ansu said seriously. Chen Guozhong burst into laughter. Sun Qianqian, who do you think you are? You don't even dare to use your own surname anymore. After he finished speaking, Chen Guozhong spoke to the people around him. This woman's name is Sun Qianqian, not Su Jingyi. When I was in my prime, I ate delicious food and drank spicy drinks. So happy. Later, when my business failed, this woman began to dislike me. It doesn't matter if you dislike me. Damn, she was actually having an affair with one of my brothers outside. I caught him red-handed. After saying that, Chen Guozhong lit a cigarette and spoke to some employees in the store. If you work for her, you have to be careful. Don't let her run away one day and leave you without a penny. At this time, Ansu on the side finally couldn't help it. She stared at Chen Guozhong, her eyes filled with anger and grievance, tears welling up in her eyes. Suddenly, she walked up quickly and slapped Chen Guozhong hard. Chen Guozhong was stunned. Chen Guozhong said angrily, "You dare to hit me, you are looking for death." As soon as he finished speaking, he was about to slap him. Ansu closed her eyes and prepared herself for the beating. But the slap did not fall. Open your eyes and take a look. It was Yifeng who stopped Chen Guozhong with one hand. Boy, let me go. Chen Guozhong said angrily. You can let me go, but you have to apologize to my boss. Yifeng said. Apologize? I'm your boss's husband, so I'm the boss, and she's just the boss's wife. Boy, if you want to stand out, you're still a little naive. After he finished speaking, he loudly asked Yifeng to let go. Yifeng turned his head and glanced at Ansu, hoping to get her opinion. But I found that her eyes were already filled with tears. Finally, Ansu couldn't bear it anymore, and she shouted at Chen Guozhong in grievance. Chen Guozhong, you are a beast, worse than pigs and dogs. You spend your time eating, drinking, whoring and gambling outside, and have ruined your family business. Now you're blaming me. Your family business has been wiped out, I am with you, and I hope you can make a comeback. But you are addicted to gambling and have no ambition to make progress. Even the last house we lived in was mortgaged. Even took on millions of gambling debts for you. Why should I separate from you? That's because what you did was simply not something a human would do. Ansu's voice was filled with endless grief and indignation, as if she wanted to vent all the grievances she had suffered over the years. Chen Guozhong didn't care at all. Instead he smiled. Because of this, every time I find her, she will say it. When Yifeng saw this, he wondered how there could be such a shameless person. No sense of shame at all. Chapter 24, Past Events. You owe your brother millions, and you shamelessly asked me to sleep with him to pay off the debt. I firmly disagreed, but I didn't expect you to secretly put aphrodisiac in my water cup. Ansu's eyes were full of despair and anger. When Ansu said this, everyone present exclaimed in unison. Yifeng was even more shocked. That man is such a fucking asshole. Chen Guozhong was stunned. He didn't expect that she would reveal this matter in front of so many people. In the past, Chen Guozhong would use this matter to blackmail Ansu every time. Ansu tolerated it for the sake of her face. This time she knew that Chen Guozhong was no longer a human being, but a devil. The more he retreated, the more he attacked. Instead of living in fear like this, it's better to give it a try. Sun Qianqian, stop talking nonsense here. Chen Guozhong said angrily. Ansu sneered. She smoothed the hair that fell on her forehead. Chen Guozhong, you actually asked your brother to come to our house in the dead of night. When she said this, Ansu's body began to tremble. An employee handed Ansu a napkin. And when I woke up, I knew everything. Not only did you not feel the slightest bit of guilt, you even insulted me by saying that I seduced your brother. After saying this, Ansu's tears rolled down her cheeks, as if all the pain and grievances burst out at this moment. Listen to this woman is talking nonsense. She seduced my brother, cheated on me, and now she's doing this to me. She's just a slut. After saying that, Chen Guozhong stepped forward and was about to hit Ansu. Ansu didn't back down at all. Yifeng stood directly in front of Ansu. Kid, get out of here, this is our family matter, or I'll beat you up too. It seems that our boss has nothing to do with you legally. If you dare to touch her, I will make you crawl out today. Chen Guozhong is also a man who has seen many storms. He couldn't help laughing. How dare a young man speak such arrogant words to me? At the same time, Chen Guozhong couldn't help but suspect that Sun Qianqian was having an affair with this guy. Otherwise, how would he know that his relationship with Sun Qianqian had broken down? Groove. Chen Guozhong felt that his self-esteem was hurt. A working boy also slept with his woman. This was something he couldn't tolerate. Sun Qianqian, you can do it now. You found a helper. This guy has always stood up for you. Your relationship is not simple. Have you slept with him before? Chen Guozhong said sarcastically. Ansu was so angry that she was speechless when faced with Chen Guozhong's slander. She looked at Chen Guozhong angrily. Go away quickly, I don't want to see you. Chen Guozhong laughed. Give me 500,000, or I'll come here every day. You're dreaming. You won't get a penny. I worked so hard to earn this money, but from today on, I won't give you a penny. Okay, let's give it a try. See if you'll pay or not. Yifeng knew that he had to use special means to deal with such a scoundrel. Otherwise, he would come and harass Ansu every day. How can Ansu continue to do business? Yifeng walked up to Chen Guozhong. Chen Guozhong narrowed his eyes and looked at Yifeng. Brother, what are you doing? Do you want to hit me? If you touch me even once, I will call the police right now. Chen Guozhong said firmly. The reason why Chen Guozhong said this. It was because just when Chen Guozhong was about to slap Ansu in the face, Yifeng blocked him. Chen Guozhong felt that the other party was very strong. Besides, he is a young man. If we fight, I may not necessarily have the upper hand. So they called the police to scare Yifeng. Yifeng laughed. Brother, you are not a child anymore. Do you still have any shame after making such a scene? Yifeng said with a smile, yes, you have already lost your shame a long time ago. The people watching started laughing. Chen Guozhong felt humiliated instantly. Fuck, you are nothing, why do you have the right to say anything? But what I said is the truth. If you can do such a thing, are you still a human being? You are worse than an animal. Yifeng laughed again. Facing Yifeng's provocation, Chen Guozhong couldn't help it. Anger is building. Groove. When Chen Guozhong heard these humiliating words, he became furious. He cursed and swung his fist towards Yifeng. Ansu, who was standing by, saw this and hurriedly gave a loud reminder. Be careful, Yifeng. However, Yifeng dodged Chen Guozhong's attack with his agility. Ansu finally breathed a sigh of relief. Sun Qianqian's reminder just now made Chen Guozhong and Duan conclude that their relationship must be unusual. Suddenly I felt a green glow above my head. His wife was actually taken away by this wage earner. Self-esteem was greatly insulted. Chen Guozhong became even more angry. He threw a few punches at Yifeng again. This time, Yifeng did not dodge, but chose to face it head-on. Although he was hit several times, he was not seriously injured. Ansu looked very distressed. When Chen Guozhong saw that Yifeng was so vulnerable, his self-confidence suddenly increased. He continued to attack Yifeng while insulting him. At this time, Yifeng decided not to tolerate Chen Guozhong's arrogant behavior anymore. He had been setting up the trap deliberately before. Provoke the other party first. This chapter is not finished yet, please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. Then he lured him to take the initiative and deliberately took a few of his punches. Now, the time is ripe and the initiative is completely in his hands. Because according to the law, when your own safety is threatened, you can take legitimate defense measures. Therefore, his current counterattack is completely legal and compliant. Yifeng punched Chen Guozhong without hesitation. However, Yifeng did not use all his strength. After Chen Guizhong was punched, he became more and more crazy, like an enraged beast. He grabbed the beer bottle next to him and smashed it at Yifeng with all his strength. Ansu, who was standing nearby, saw this scene and her heart rose to her throat, fearing that Yifeng would be hurt. Yifeng showed amazing reaction speed and flexibility. He quickly dodged to the side, leaving Chen Guizhong empty-handed. Chen Guizhong stared with his eyes wide open, his eyeballs turned red, he was breathing heavily, and he kept cursing. Then he attacked again. This time Yifeng no longer chose to give in. He suddenly turned sideways with lightning speed and easily avoided Chen Guizhong's attack, and took the beer bottle from his hand. Afterwards, Yifeng gave Chen Guizhong 2 loud slaps in the face without hesitation. His eyes were cold and sharp, warning. These 2 slaps are a warning to you. If you dare to talk nonsense again, I will knock out your dog teeth next time. Chen Guizhong covered his red and swollen cheek, with a hint of fear in his eyes. He finally realized that he was no match for Yifeng. Chapter 25 Crying in Grievance. Chen Guizhong looked at the situation and knew that he would gain nothing by continuing to pester the issue. It might even embarrass yourself further. Now that he knew Sun Qianqian's address, he still decided to leave first. After all, he couldn't get money from Sun Qianqian tonight. Sun Qianqian, you are quite capable and have found a helper. But you wait for me. As long as you don't prepare the 500,000, I will cause trouble for you every day. Don't ever think of getting rid of me in this life. After saying that, Chen Guizhong glared at Yifeng fiercely. Boy, you are quite brave today. I will remember you. Seeing this, Yifeng is still threatening me. So Yifeng kicked Chen Guizhong. The kick was so powerful that it knocked Chen Guizhong to the ground. Chen Guizhong struggled to stand up, but Yifeng didn't give him a chance. He rushed forward again and punched and kicked Chen Guizhong again. Chen Guizhong had no power to fight back and could only roll on the ground to avoid the attack. Although Yifeng taught Chen Guizhong a lesson, Ansu felt very relieved. But he was worried that something might go wrong if Yifeng couldn't stop himself. Furthermore, Chen Guizhong is a gambler. He suffered a loss and was capable of anything. It would be bad if Yifeng was hurt by then. Yifeng, forget it. It's good enough. Ansu said. Yifeng stopped when he saw this. He lit a cigarette and smoked slowly. Brother, I'll teach you a lesson today. If you dare to cause trouble again, I promise I won't let you go. Also, if my boss hadn't stopped you today, I guarantee you wouldn't be able to leave this door today. Yifeng pretended to touch him. Chen Guizhong was so scared that he quickly covered his head with his hands. Everyone around started laughing. As arrogant as Chen Guizhong was just now, he is now in a state of disgrace. Finally, Chen Guizhong finally got up. At this point he no longer dared to say another harsh word and just ran away in shame. When the people around saw this scene, they all gave Yifeng a thumbs up and praised his bravery. Yifeng smiled and said that this was what he should do. Ansu was a little worried that Chen Guizhong would come and take revenge on Yifeng. After everyone left, Ansu said to Yifeng, Yifeng, it's all thanks to you today. Otherwise, I really don't know what to do. Thank you. Yifeng felt distressed when he saw Ansu's tear-stained face. He knew that Ansu had suffered a lot and endured a lot of grievances. Ansu, you're welcome. This is what I should do. As long as I'm here, he won't dare to come. Yifeng said firmly. Ansu felt grateful and warm. Ansu has met some men over the years. After getting to know each other, I found that these men were all after my body. None of them are sincere. They are all fake. Although there is no relationship between her and Yifeng. But it's comfortable to get along with each other. Yifeng, I'm a little scared. Ansu said aggrievedly, her voice trembling slightly. Tears began to well up in my eyes. Ansu, don't worry. With me here, he won't dare to cause trouble again. If he does, I won't let him go. Yifeng comforted her, his tone firm and confident. However, Ansu's face was still full of worry. But he's just a gambler, he's crazy. If I don't give him the 500,000, he'll really do anything. You just heard it. I have been avoiding him all these years. I thought I was finally getting rid of him this time. But he still found it. Ansu's voice was filled with despair and helplessness. I'm worried that even if I give him money this time, he will continue to pester me like a bottomless pit and torture me endlessly. Ansu choked up. Yifeng looked at the heartbroken Ansu in front of him, his heart filled with sympathy and anger. He couldn't imagine a woman going through such pain and torture, and he couldn't tolerate what the man did. He secretly made up his mind to protect Ansu and prevent her from being hurt again. At the same time, he also had to find a way to completely solve this problem so that Ansu could live a peaceful life again. Ansu, you need to cheer up and get rid of him completely, otherwise how long will you hide? Unless I leave this city, I will never be able to get rid of his shadow. After saying this, Ansu's emotions completely broke down and she cried out in grievance. Seeing this, Yifeng hurriedly comforted him. Auntie Su, don't worry, I'm here. However, his words did not stop Ansu from crying. Looking at the heartbroken Ansu in front of him, Yifeng could only keep comforting her. Like coaxing a child. He picked up the napkin beside him and handed it to Ansu. Auntie Su, don't cry, everything will be fine. At this moment, Ansu suddenly raised her head and looked at Yifeng with tearful eyes. She choked and said, Yifeng, I'm really scared. As soon as she finished speaking, she threw herself into Yifeng's arms and hugged him tightly. Yifeng was stunned for a moment, his body stiff and he didn't know what to do. What is this for? He could feel as if something was staring at his upper body. Ansu wrapped her arms tightly around his waist and rested her face on his chest. Such a close distance. Yifeng could smell a faint fragrance emanating from Ansu. The aroma is intoxicating, even a little fascinating. Yifeng's heartbeat involuntarily quickened and his face began to get hot. He tried to push Ansu away, but was worried that it would hurt her fragile heart. Therefore, he could only silently endure this sudden closeness, his heart filled with complicated emotions. After a while, Ansu stopped crying. Then he let go of Yifeng. Yifeng, I'm so sorry that I got your clothes dirty. I'll help you wash them later. At this moment, Yifeng realized that his clothes were soaked with tears, especially the part where Ansu had leaned on just now. He quickly replied, It's okay, Ansu, I can just go back and wash it myself. Ansu smiled and walked to the sofa and sat down. She took a deep breath, calmed down, and spoke seriously. Yifeng, what you said just now makes a lot of sense. I can't keep running away like this. If I keep hiding, I don't know when it will end. And after so many years, even though I avoided him for so long, he was still able to find my trace. So this time, I must solve this problem once and for all and put an end to everything. Yifeng nodded in agreement. Ansu, you can definitely do it. Ansu smiled and said, I'm sorry to have made you laugh today. Chapter 26 Cooperation. Yifeng smiled and said, No. Ansu looked at Yifeng, a trace of gratitude flashed in her eyes. Yifeng, you helped me today, I owe you a favor. Yifeng smiled and said, Don't be so polite, it's just a small favor. Ansu knew very well that if Yifeng had not been there today, with the strength of the female employees in the store, it would have been difficult for them to fight against Qian Guizhong. Qian Guizhong is a madman. Every time he found me in the past, the end result was that he gave in to me. He thought today would be the same as before. Still under his control. He didn't expect the situation to be like this today. It felt so good to see Yifeng beating him up just now. Yes. I must. Ansu said firmly. After their voice fell, Ansu continued, Yifeng, you and I are destined to be together. I have decided that I will give this store to you for free. Yifeng was stunned for a moment. Are you kidding me? Ansu interrupted Yifeng directly. Yifeng, I know you must find this incredible. I also find it incredible. How can I give away all the achievements I have worked so hard to achieve? But, after everything that just happened, I know that you are the only one who can save this store. This store is like my child. I don't want it to be destroyed in my hands, and you're the perfect person to do it. Because I think you're a genius at this. This store will surely flourish in your hands. Yifeng wondered if Ansu was a little too emotional. Just like a spur-of-the-moment thing. Yifeng quickly refused. Ansu, this is absolutely not possible. Yifeng said. Sure. Ansu said firmly. Ansu, if you are worried that your husband will continue to harass you, you can sell it and get the money. Yifeng said. Then I'll sell it to you. Ansu said firmly. Yifeng was confused by Ansu. What is going on? Ansu, no matter what, if you give me this store, I definitely don't want it and I can't accept it. Besides, you have to sell it to me. Although I have the idea of developing in this direction, I can't afford it. So, please continue to be your boss and I will work for you. I promise your husband won't dare to harass you. Ansu stared at Yifeng. Yifeng, I will never return or take back what I have said. Yifeng was really confused by Ansu. There is no such thing. Is this a joke? Yifeng still refused. Yifeng, please forgive me, okay? Ansu continued. Yifeng saw that Ansu looked sincere and didn't seem to be lying. But, just because I helped Ansu? Are there any so-called geniuses in the massage industry? She gave it to me. Yifeng always found this incredible. Yifeng, how about this? You will run this store, and we will split the profits equally. This is my final line. Ansu said firmly. Yifeng took a deep breath. Light a cigarette and take a slow puff. I have the desire to develop in this direction. If you start a business alone, there is a risk of failure. And you have to invest some money. Why not accept Ansu's advice? Ansu, I've thought about it and I think the best way is for me to run this store. But you have to be a senior consultant, after all, you have experience in this area. I have a lot to learn from you. Besides, the money earned cannot be divided equally. I only take the share that belongs to me. If you agree, Ansu, I agree. If you don't agree, I don't agree either. Ansu also felt that the action just now might have scared Yifeng. However, Yifeng's character was also highlighted. Not the kind of person who is obsessed with money. Of course, Ansu had no intention of testing Yifeng. I agree. Ansu smiled and stretched out her right hand. It's a pleasure to work with you. Yifeng smiled and stretched out his right hand. Happy cooperation. Then, Ansu notified all employees through the intercom to gather downstairs. Soon, more than a dozen employees stood in front of Ansu in an orderly manner. Ansu first summarized today's work situation, praised some employees with outstanding performance, and pointed out some areas that need improvement. Then she announced an important decision. Starting tomorrow, all matters of my store will be handed over to Yifeng, and I will step back behind the scenes. I hope everyone can support Yifeng's work. Supporting him is supporting me. We work together and our store is getting better and better. As soon as the news came out, the people below immediately began to whisper. Everyone stared at Yifeng with surprise and confusion. He seemed very puzzled by this sudden arrangement. Yifeng was a little embarrassed. Looking at the expressions of the crowd, he couldn't help but speculate secretly. Do they think that there is some kind of improper relationship between themselves and Ansu? The thought made him feel uneasy. I know some of you may find this decision incredible. Some people also think that Yifeng is definitely not qualified for this job. I'll just say two things. If you can do them, I'll let you be the leader. This chapter is not finished yet, please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. There was an unquestionable majesty in Ansu's voice. First, if my husband comes over to cause trouble again tomorrow, who among you can handle it? Ansu asked. His performance tonight should give us a sense of what kind of person he is. Tomorrow, he will definitely come to cause trouble again. As long as I don't give him $500,000, he will come every day. If someone can solve this problem, she can compete with Yifeng. Secondly, some employees come here for a few months and I don't make any demands on them. Some employees have been there for 2 years. But who among you can perform the massage techniques I taught you and make the guests feel most comfortable at the same time? However, the employees in the audience fell silent. Although they were dissatisfied in their hearts, they still felt powerless when faced with the 2 points raised by Ansu. Perhaps some people can still deal with the first point. However, the second point, apart from Ansu, no other employee in the store can accomplish it. At this time, an employee stood up and said, Ansu, many of us here have been following you for more than 2 years, and we know you very well. But the decision you made today is really hard for us to understand. This Yifeng is a complete layman, how can he lead us? I'm afraid he doesn't even know the most basic massage techniques. Faced with doubts and confusion, Ansu smiled slightly. The 2 things I just mentioned, no one can do it except Yifeng. She paused and continued, I believe you have witnessed what happened tonight, so I will not say more here. Chapter 27 Father-Daughter Conflict. Ansu said that the boss is a very warm-hearted and kind-hearted person. When I first came to this city, I had barely found my feet and life was so hard. When I finished eating and was about to pay, I realized that my phone was missing. I was extremely anxious at that time. Because I had no cash on me and I didn't have any friends here. There was no choice but to tell my boss the truth. The boss not only waived my meal bill, but also offered to lend me 100 yuan for travel expenses. At that moment, I was really touched. Not only did he not treat me as a liar, he actually gave me 100 yuan. Since then, I have come here frequently to consume, and slowly, I discovered that the boss is like this to everyone. Some customers leave after finishing their meal, but the boss never gets angry. He just smiles faintly, as if saying, "Who hasn't encountered difficulties?" After listening to this, Feng said, "So, there are still many good people in this world. Just like you, Ansu, who are willing to take me in." Ansu laughed. "Don't flatter me. I think you are genius in this area. If it were someone else, I wouldn't want to do that." Feng laughed. Ansu also laughed. At this time, Feng saw a familiar figure passing by. Feng looked back and continued eating with Ansu without thinking much. "Did you get into trouble outside? Otherwise, why would you bear to come back?" The person who spoke was the boss. In front of her is her daughter Wenwen. The boss raised Wenwen alone. When Wenwen was 3 years old, her mother ran away with a man. Be a father and a mother. And I have to support my family. The discipline on Wenwen became much looser. After puberty, Wenwen became more and more rebellious. After graduating from junior high school, I started hanging out in the society. The boss often told her to learn a skill and find a proper job, and not to mess around outside. Wenwen sneered. "What do you know? How much money can you make by learning a skill? Sometimes I earn more than you do in a month. It's a shame that you run a crappy restaurant." Wenwen works as a bartender in a bar. Sometimes you can make money when business is good. But she can also spend money. "I basically live paycheck to paycheck every month. If you have no money, ask your boss for it." The boss feels that Wenwen is losing money, so basically he always responds to requests. "What? What kind of trouble can I get into? Give me 10,000 yuan. I'm going to travel abroad with my friends in a few days." Wenwen said. 10,000 yuan, he asked in surprise. "What are you doing? You're so nervous about 10,000 yuan. You look like you've never seen money before. If I hadn't received my salary, I wouldn't ask you for money." After she finished speaking, Wenwen lit a cigarette skillfully. The boss noticed that Wenwen had a new tattoo on her arm. The boss shook his head when he saw it. "I thought, she doesn't he look like a girl at all? He's just a gangster. My friend has prepared tens of thousands of dollars. It's so difficult for me to get 10,000 yuan from you." Wenwen said unhappily. "Wenwen, you know I'm just a small business owner. After rent, water and electricity, I don't make much money every month. You took 9,000 last month. Now you want another 10,000, which I really don't have." Wenwen glanced at the boss. I felt very unhappy. "Tell me, give me as much as you have. 3,000 at most." "What? 3,000? Who the hell are you sending?" Wenwen threw away her cigarette and angrily said to the boss. The boss sighed. He didn't know why his daughter became like this. Where did that innocent little girl go? Now I am completely a mixed-up person in society. Wenwen, this is really all we have." The boss said helplessly. Wenwen looked fierce. "Okay, 3,000 is 3,000. I want it now. Give it to me right now." The boss said helplessly that he didn't have that much money on him, only a little over 2,000. "There is another 1,000 at home." Wenwen felt that her father was playing tricks on her. "You old man, are you kidding me? I am ashamed to be your daughter. Look at other people's parents, who doesn't buy houses and cars for their children. I don't want any of this. You're incompetent. I want a few $1,000s, and you're still stingy. Groove. Transfer the money you have to me first. I need it urgently." Wenwen said anxiously. The boss felt something was wrong at this time. Although Wenwen sometimes asks me for money. But this time is the most urgent. It seemed like she really had gotten into trouble outside. When, did you get into any trouble outside? Asked the boss. No, no, how many times have you told me to say it? No, no, hurry up and give me the money. When yelled loudly. Her voice attracted many guests to look in the direction of the quarrel, including Yi Feng and Ansu. Seeing this, Ansu thought something had happened and quickly put down her chopsticks and walked to the kitchen. Ansu knows Wen. I saw Wen arguing with her boss. Ansu hurried forward to persuade him and asked the boss what was going on. The boss said go out. Wen felt very embarrassed and started to curse her boss. Ansu couldn't bear to watch it anymore. Just said a few words to Wen. Wen directly directed her criticism at Ansu. Who are you to meddle in our family affairs? Wen said angrily to Ansu. This chapter is not finished yet, please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. Ansu looked at Wen's ferocious appearance and thought that this little girl was really useless. Some time ago, the boss asked Ansu if she could let her daughter come and learn massage and learn a skill. Ansu said there was no problem. But now it seems that even if such a person comes, she doesn't want him. Ansu wanted to say something else. But think about it, this is someone else's family affair. If not handled properly, it will affect the relationship between father and daughter. Ansu then decided to lend the boss 3,000 yuan first. Wen is making a lot of noise here and it also affects business. Besides, the boss is the only one in the store. There are still many guests waiting to be served. Wen, I'll pay 3,000 yuan for your father, okay? Ansu said. Wen smiled contemptuously. Who cares about your 3,000 yuan? You make it seem like you're a philanthropist. You're so generous. Just give me 10,000 yuan. The boss was furious at Wen's attitude. He got angry and picked up a shovel and spoke directly to Wen. Get out of here, get out now, you don't get a penny. Seeing this, Wen was not willing to be outdone. He picked up the knife and fork beside him and pointed it at the boss. When Ansu saw this, she knew something big was going to happen. Hurry up and give him some kind advice. The boss had no choice but to put down the shovel. He was so chilling. Wen, I'll give you 10,000 yuan. Don't look for me again. I don't have a daughter like you. Wen laughed. Don't brag, old man. If you have the ability, bring it here quickly.